the moment. This is TNT Sports, home of NASCAR's race for the championship.
The 2001 NASCAR Busch season has reached its halfway point with spills and thrills. Today, the stars of the series buckle up and shift into high gear on TNT. This is the only time all season that the NASCAR Busch Series will race on a road course. Today, the drivers have to make right-hand turns as well as left-handers. It'll be a true test of driving skill and should make for a great race. Here's more from Ralph Shaheen.
Call them hired guns, call them specialists, call them ringers, call them what you will, but whatever you call them fast, because the 4 drivers starting at the front of our grid today have all made their mark in professional motorsports by being excellent road racers. Boris said, who starts 4th today, has 4 road racing championships. The man who starts 3rd, Robbie Gordon, has numerous wins at the Daytona 24 Hours and the 12 Hours of Sebring. To the front row, you find Ron Fellows. This gentleman has 2 championships in professional road racing. And the man on the pole today, Scott Pruitt, has 4 championships in road racing. In fact, just 1 month ago, the 2 cars in the front of our grid, Scott Pruitt and Ron Fellows, teamed up at the most famous road race in the entire world, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, where these 2 drivers won their class. These drivers are not here for Busch Grand National points today. They're here for 2 things: money and the fact that they might be able to impress a Busch Grand National car owner looking for a new full-time driver. Matt Yoakum.
Ralph, for the 3rd time this year, NASCAR's traveling man, Kevin Harvick, will compete in 2 different races in 2 different locations within 24 hours. Last night, Harvick made his first career Winston Cup start in Daytona. Early on, he climbed as high as 2nd, but misfortune hit with 19 laps to go. The 25-year-old was caught up in a crash. He limped home to a 25th place finish. But past history shows when Harvick stumbles in his Winston Cup mount, he has a successful run in his Busch Series car, finishing 2nd or better. Harvick will roll away from the 6th position, chasing his season's 3rd victory. So today the agenda is simple. He's chasing points and a history-making first career road course win in a Busch car. It's all coming up next on TNT.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me double shot is out. Watkins Glen, a storied road course located in the picturesque Finger Lakes region of New York State, is home today of the GNC Live Well 200. We are halfway through the Busch Series season. Today, drivers battling for points must battle some road course specialists racing with nothing to lose. We are ready to race at Watkins Glen. The engines have fired on pit road. Drivers and cars are ready, the fans are ready, and we are ready for Busch Series racing at Watkins Glen. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Hogwood. We welcome you to this great road course at Watkins Glen and the Busch Series racing here on TNT. As we have said, this is the only time all season that this series will run on a road course. And for some of these guys, it's been quite an adventure all weekend long as they've tried to figure out how to stay on this course. It has not been easy. The pea gravel has seen its share of cars in practice and in qualifying. Even some of these road racing specialists have gotten off course with these big, heavy, sometimes hard to handle race cars. Working with me today is a guy who didn't have much trouble here at Watkins Glen, ran in several sports car classes, Jeremy Dale. Jeremy even found his way to victory lane in one of the series. Welcome to TNT Sports, Jeremy. Two different mindsets in this race today.
Absolutely, Mike. It's almost as if we have two races in one. We've got those four road course guys at the front of the grid. The top three within 3/100ths of a second on the starting grid. Then back in 5th and 6th, you've got Biffle and Harvick. Those are two of the main guys racing for the Busch Championship. So the question is, if you're Biffle and Harvick, do you go up and race those guys, or you just play it safe and hope for some points today at Watkins Glen?
It's going to be interesting to see, indeed, Jeremy, how this all plays out. Now, the last time NASCAR was on a road course, it was in Sears Point, the Winston Cup Series. You saw Robbie Gordon and Kevin Harvick doing a little battle, and look at the orange, number 20. That is Tony Stewart, who came away with the big road course win, cut a few donuts, ran last night in Daytona, and folks, guess what? Just a short while ago, he landed right here at Watkins Glen and will join us for our race today. Tony, this isn't exactly the Memorial Day double dip between Indy and Charlotte, but it's our double dip. We're glad to have you here in Watkins Glen.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be here. I can't think of anything I'd rather do on my Sunday than be at a racetrack.
Well, last night, you had made your way into the top 5 at Daytona. NASCAR had a rule. You get down below the yellow line, you're going to be penalized. The first guy to feel the enforcement of that rule, Tony Stewart. Tell us about it.
Well, we were racing pretty hard with 3 laps to go, and we got a big run on the 10 car, and we turned down underneath him and got underneath him before we got to the yellow line, but nonetheless, NASCAR assessed us a penalty and put us to the back 20 spot.
Is there anything you can do about the penalty? You lost some points in that. Is it going to really hurt you in that championship chase?
Well, I'm sure it is. You know, we gained some points on Jeff Gordon, but we also lost points to Dale Jarrett and Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace, who we're really close with. So at the same time, I mean, we gained, but we lost. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we'll just do the best we can the rest of the season.
Still 19 Cup races left. It's a long season. You have to put last night behind you quickly.
Absolutely. We got to put last night behind us and get ready for Chicago next week, which is going to be a brand new venue for us.
All right, Tony, we are glad to have you with us today, and we are ready shortly to take the green flag. We'll introduce the starting grid to you in the GNC Live Well 200. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. GNC Live Well 200 on TNT. Brought to you by General Nutrition Centers. Visit one of GNC's 4,500 stores nationwide to help you live your best life. GNC Live Well. By Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. Busch, the proud sponsor of the NASCAR Busch Series. By the Wide Shot Power Painter from Wagner, for guys who like to run wide open. And by Castrol Syntec Full Synthetic Motor Oil. Protects in ways other oils can't. Getting ready to race here at Watkins Glen. Let's look at some track facts about this storied road course. 2.45 miles around it. Not an easy test.
No, you can see the race distance there, just a little bit over 200 miles, but more importantly, 7 right-hand corners and only 4 left-handers, so not a big comfort level for these guys that are normally used to turning left. Pit window there, 30 to 34 laps, although a lot of the crew chiefs being a little cagey about that. Ron Fellows has the race record here from last year's race, a little bit over 90 miles an hour. Remember, Ron Fellows has won 2 out of the last 3 Busch races here at Watkins Glen.
Now let's take a look at our Castrol GTX starting grid on the pole. Scott Pruitt set a new track record, his first Busch start of the year. Ron Fellows, he's won twice here. Robbie Gordon, boy, he had a ride at Winston Cup at Sears Point a couple weeks ago. Morris said, one of those hired guns, started from the pole in a Busch race in '98. Greg Biffle, the first of the Busch regulars, he's a rookie, he's got 3 wins so far. Then there's Kevin Harvick doing double duty, finished 25th last night at Daytona. Jeff Green, the defending series champion with 2 wins this season. Lyndon Amick, he's had quite a weekend here at Watkins Glen. Jimmy Johnson had quite a ride here a year ago, what he wants to avoid today. Elton Sawyer, 3 consecutive top 10 finishes coming into today's race. Then there's Mike McLaughlin, 6 consecutive top 5 finishes here at the Glen. Jamie McMurray, he's a rookie, had a 3rd at Nashville this year. Kenny Wallace, now full-time in the Busch Series. Andy Santerre has had some Busch North wins here at Watkins Glen. And Jeffrey Bodine is back in this series. Hank Parker Jr. had his first win at California this season. Chad Little, 3 top 10 finishes and 4 Busch starts at Watkins Glen. Tony Raines has been hot lately, 6 top 10 finishes in the last 8 races. Kevin Grubb's also hot, 2 straight top 10 finishes coming into this race. Randy LaJoie had a win at Daytona back in February. Larry Foyt, his first road course start for the rookie. Another rookie with his first road course start is Scott Wimmer. Shane Hall had a top 10 finish here at Watkins Glen in '97. Brian Weber, it's only his second Busch start ever. And Bill Hoff, shotgun on our field today. Kevin Harvick in row 3 today. With more on that, we're going to welcome to Turner coverage of NASCAR, Liz Allison, widow of the late Davey Allison, author of a book on Davey's life, and a woman who certainly is at home and knows her way around the NASCAR garage. This is Liz's first live broadcast. Liz Allison, it is great to have you as a part of our team.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here. I'm so excited about this year. We're going to have a good time. You know, all the talk this week has been on Kevin Harvick. Back and forth, Watkins Glen to Daytona, but he has not been by himself. His wife, Delana Harvick's been making the trip with him. Delana, has this been a busy week or what?
That's probably the biggest understatement. It's been busy. They just point me toward a plane and I get on it. It actually has been pretty good. The biggest difficulty is going from Daytona, where it's really hot, back to Watkins Glen, where it's, you know, pretty cool, and I've worried about him with that, but he's done a good job with it.
Well, that's great. Well, have a good time today. Be safe, and thank you very much. Back, Mike, to you.
It is great. This is a family sport. Jeremy Dale, I want you to take us on a ride around this Watkins Glen course.
Well, we've got a great look at it here from the helicopter onto the main straightaway over that start-finish line, gently downhill to turn 1, called the 90. Downhill, downhill, downhill. Second gear, good braking zone, a lot of passing into that first turn. Now, start to climb uphill through the S's. Third gear, very quick section of the racetrack, and when you clear the S's at the crest of the hill, you go to fourth. Carry fourth gear down that long back straightaway. Pick up a draft, another good passing area as you enter the inner loop. A lot of action there. You can see the pea gravel on the right side there. Now, downhill through the loop, long sweeping right-hand corner. Very important to get a clean exit off this corner because you've got another long straightaway. You may see a little bit of passing into the left-hander here. Turn 10. Nice, quick left-hander, got a little bit of banking to it, and then the final corner, turn 11, out onto the main straightaway and over the start-finish line.
Quite a challenge, and we'll have the green flag of the GNC Live Well 200. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Back at Watkins Glen, we are ready to take the green flag. You're riding with Kevin Harvick right now. There is Jeff Green, the defending series champion.
Take care of yourself.
Morris said one of the hired guns in that 17 car. Matt Kenseth has driven that a lot this year. There's Mike McLaughlin. He has been great here for the last 6 races. And Hank Parker Jr., his car owner, is the grand marshal of the race today. Scott Welliver, he really wants to do well. There is the defending champion of this race, Ron Fellows, driving the Joe Nemechek-owned car number 87. When they come across the start-finish line this time, we will have the green flag here.
Off. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Go, 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 go. Green, green. Green flag.
On board there with Kevin Harvick a moment. He's in 6th position as they now from the backstretch go through that inner loop, being led by Scott Pruitt and Ron Fellows, the defending champion of this race. Tony, this first lap, it's always kind of tough just to get going here.
It is, but at the same time, with the situation you have with the brakes with a heavy Busch Grand National car like this, a lot of guys will take the first couple laps as an opportunity to make some quick passes early before the brakes. And you see right there, Greg Biffle is locked up the left front there getting into the turn 10. So a lot of guys are going to take the early laps to try to make as many passing opportunities as possible before the brakes start to fade.
And we saw it safe getting through turn 1 there. That's really one of the danger points.
And I'll tell you, remarkably well behaved by everyone back at the inner loop. I mean, that's normally on the first lap, you see at least 6 or 8 cars side by side into the inner loop. We hardly saw any of these guys side by side, but definitely a very quick, and I think for Robbie Gordon, a bit of a surprising pass there by Biffle into turn 10.
Now on board with Mike McLaughlin in the 11th position. Running directly behind Elton Sawyer. And that car behind him is Ron Hornaday. Boy, it looks like a traffic jam going into that inner loop.
Well, you have to run single file there. There's no such thing as side by side through the inner loop. You know, you can do it, but you'd be so slow. So you really got to get everything straightened out by the time you turn into that inner loop.
On board again with McLaughlin. Again, that's Elton Sawyer, who has run very well here at the Glen in the last few years, directly ahead of him in 10th position.
Turn 10, very quick left-hander, and then you've got to get right back to the left side of the road to set up for turn 11 out onto the main straightaway.
Staying on board as we head down to turn 1 with Mike McLaughlin.
You can see how it goes downhill there, and then it hits a compression there. And now we're going to get to the lowest point on the racetrack as you head into the S's, but now climb steeply uphill. Look at the view these guys have. They just see the sky there. It's totally blind over that crest.
Now we're on board with Hank Parker Jr. He's riding in 21st position. He's another one of those young guys who's really improved on a road course, and there is no substitute for experience on these road courses.
Not at all. The best thing you can do is just get out and in happy hour make as many laps as possible. Now, you still have to utilize that time to make adjustments, but at the same time, the more track time that they can give those rookie drivers that haven't had the opportunity to run a Busch car on the road course, the better off they are.
And guys like Biffle, remember, Biffle is a rookie in Busch, but the last 2 years running, the Truck Series has run 3 road course races. So Biffle is actually, as a rookie, has got a lot of road course experience, and that's why he's up front mixing it up with these guys.
In the lead now is Scott Pruitt. Interesting story. He is driving a car owned by Kevin LePage. He had real heartbreak at the Winston Cup race here back last August when he was driving Cal Wells' car. He was one of the top drivers in practice, but qualifying got rained out, and because of the qualifying rules was not able to participate in the race. So that's Kelly Denton, who has gotten off course.
And that is in the last corner. As a matter of fact, he's turned that down on the pit road there. So he's got it running, but he's going to have to drive through the pits. He's going to stop at his pit.
Well, Kelly Denton trying to get to his pit. He is there to the attention of his crew.
And this is the last corner, and you roll in there, and you've got a little bit of banking, but it looks like you may have touched the curb a little bit, and that unsettled the car. And lucky, actually, to get it stopped before you hit the end of that pit wall, because if you hit that, your day might be over.
Kelly Denton out of Bristol, Virginia, doesn't get his day started well at all. Right now it is Scott Pruitt and Ron Fellows still out front at Watkins Glen. We'll be back with more. You're watching Busch Racing on TNT. Under a full course caution, Greg Biffle has taken the lead just before we took that yellow flag. Let's show you the reason for that caution flag. It is Tom Hubert who is in the pea gravel right now. Blue car there of Tom Hubert, 00 car, California native, road racing specialist, but he didn't have anywhere to go.
Not at all. There was contact between Tom and looks like the 36 car, but the hard part is once you back the car into the pea gravel like that, the car sinks down about a foot into that. And the reason for the pea gravel is to slow the car down so it didn't hit the styrofoam barriers and the tire wall and the concrete wall behind it. So it saved the race car, but at the same time, you're stuck there and you're at the mercy of the wrecker workers trying to get the car out.
Tom Hubert, who works full-time for Bill Davis Racing in the Winston Cup Series, is a chassis specialist, but has driven several times here at Watkins Glen on several other road courses as well. Let's ride with Hank Parker and see if we can get a better look.
Oh, there you go.
Well, there you have it.
Well, you know, they lowered that curb. I think it was 2 years ago, Tony. They lowered that first curb as you came into the inner loop, and now guys are using even more of it. You could see the car literally got airborne there, and that launched him over the second curb, and I think Hubert was the victim there and not the instigator.
Well, I remember 2 years ago when I was a rookie here in the Cup Series, I hit that first curb, and I thought I was a part of the Joey Chitwood Thrill Show because I know the right side of the car was 2 feet off the ground, so I was glad to see him lower that curb. But it just shows how technical this racetrack is. When you get into a sequence of corners like that, if you blow the first corner, it messes you up for the second corner, and then it even is a multiplier for the third corner. So it's not uncommon to see a guy make a mistake like that. That seems like a small mistake at first that costs you really big at the end.
That's assuming you make it out the other end.
Exactly, exactly.
You know, guys, you can see that we have kind of an overcast day today. It rained really hard here last night. And down in the pits, they're prepared for whatever happens. Ralph?
Well, if they have to go to rain tires, Mike, this is what they're going to use. They look just like this. These are the Goodyear Eagle rain tires. Now, there are a few things that the NASCAR Busch Series mandates that the teams have to use. These rain tires, one windshield wiper, they have to put a film over the window, which kind of helps drain the water off the window, and they also have to mount a brake light behind the car in the rear window just below the roof line. Now, they can use a defogger on the inside if they want to, and the teams will do this in 2 different ways. They will use either a fan or a film on the interior, as they're using now on the exterior of the windows. You've seen them pull those sheets off when they go to change a windshield. Well, they can use that on the inside as well to help defog the inside of the car if the drivers need them. All the teams have these standing by. They're ready to go. If NASCAR decides they will make this a rain race, they will give all the teams at least 1 lap to pull down pit road and make those changes. Once everybody's moved to the rain tires, they're on their own from there. If the track dries out and they want to go back to slicks, they've got to gamble on the pit stop.
And I'm willing to bet that those crew chiefs and drivers don't want to put those tires on.
Well, I can tell you when we came here 2 years ago, and the first opportunity I had a chance to come here, it did rain during practice, and we actually rained down qualifying, and I got 6 laps of practice before qualifications. And the reason for that is Greg Zipadelli, my crew chief, did not want to risk putting me out at Watkins Glen first time on the racetrack in rain conditions. So it's a very technical situation to try to go to those new rain tires.
Let's hope we don't have to do that today. Right now, it looks like we're not. We are under caution at Watkins Glen. We'll sort out the field for you when we return to the GNC Live Well 200. Back at Watkins Glen, Mike Hawkwood, Tony Stewart, Jeremy Dale, along with Liz Allison, Ralph Shaheen, and Matt Yoakum. Glad you're with us. Hey, we want to take a look at our upcoming race schedule. On Monday night at 11 o'clock, it's NASCAR at Night, the Pepsi 400 Encore. You can see Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s exciting win again. Then Friday at 4 on CNNSI, it's Bud Pole qualifying for the Tropicana 400. Saturday at 3:30 on NBC, it's NASCAR Busch Series Racing from Chicago. And Sunday on NBC, it's the inaugural Winston Cup race from Chicago, the Tropicana 400. Coverage begins at 2.
It's a very exciting weekend. Looking forward to going to Chicago, a new market for NASCAR, a market that's very familiar to me from my open wheel days, but I know everybody in the Busch Series and the Cup Series is very excited to go back to Chicago now.
We got a nice crowd here today. Well, you know, they have a great time when they come to Watkins Glen, camping out all over the course. A lot of fun. And we've seen a swap in the lead. Greg Biffle has been told to drop back.
Well, we had been talking about it during the break that Greg Biffle, we thought, had passed those guys just as that full course yellow was coming out. And so NASCAR officials told him to drop back to 3rd position so he won't get credit for leading the lap, which, of course, that is all important bonus points for Greg Biffle.
Pace car's off. Car's off. Green, green, green. Green, green, green. Go, go, go. Green flag.
You're on board with Ron Fellows riding 2nd behind Scott Pruitt. These guys are smooth, aren't they?
They are, and I tell you what, you saw Ron Fellows go down into turn 1, and he was just flanking off to the right-hand side of Pruitt. I don't think he even intended to pass, but I think it's one of those intimidation moves to try to get him to overdrive it on the restart, just to see if he can make Scott make a mistake early, just like he is here.
Now, you just show the guy a little bit of your car out the right side, and he knows that you're there, sees you moving around back there. It's certainly a good opportunity here on the restart with a lap or so on not totally warm tires to make something happen, but it looks like Pruitt is pretty hooked up, and these front 4 have absolutely pulled away from Borisset.
Well, that front 4 still does include, of course, the 60 of Greg Biffle. What a season he has. And if you're wondering about his road course ability, he won the Truck Series race here last year from the pole. So he knows what to do on this course.
Also won a Truck Series race at Portland on the road course there. So, and remember, Greg Biffle comes from the Roush team. The Roush team's roots are in road racing, and these guys are very comfortable building road course cars, and this is a car that was built specifically for the road course. Even though the Busch Series only running one road course event, they built a special car. Look at how close he is now to Ronfello. Lost a little bit up the hill there.
And you see Ashton Lewis off in the pea gravel. You notice on the side of his car, it says your logo here. Ashton Lewis and his family trying to run their own operation out of Chesapeake, Virginia. He's in desperate need of a sponsor.
I tell you what, that is a kid that definitely deserves a sponsor. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a great race team. And for all the sponsors out there, you're foolish. This is a great opportunity to get on a good quality race car with a good quality driver.
Had a great run at Kentucky. Started racing go-karts when he was 17 and has an engineering degree from Old Dominion. But right now is stuck in that gravel that Tony was telling us about. You sink about a foot down into it. It's hard to get out of.
And he is down in turn 1. These guys now in the final corner headed down towards turn 1. So right now, NASCAR officials will be hoping he can get out of that pea gravel on his own, but they want to avoid going to the full course yellow. And there you see him parked pretty much up against the edge of the gravel pit.
The only shot he has at getting out on his own right there is just trying to get to the grass, which is just on the other side of that. So it does give you an opportunity. If you can go all the way through the pea gravel, you see Larry Ford, it's hard to get out right now. So
how about Larry Foyt? He's going to get out of it.
That's turn 10. Boy, that's fast in there, too. Approach turn 10 at about 145 miles an hour.
Larry Foyt's first race here at Watkins Glen, the son of A.J. Trying for that rookie title here in 2001 in the Busch Series.
Yeah, AJ will have something to say about that, about Larry getting in the gravel this early, but I can promise you his granddad's been in the gravel plenty.
And we talked about it before. There is no substitute for experience, as we now are indeed under a caution.
Surprising, I'm sorry, Mike, surprising to see Ashton off the road because he's an experienced road course racer. Here they are side by side. That is Jay Sauter down the inside, and they meet right there at the apex, and we'll see you later. That's a little launching ramp, by the way, there off the left side of that racetrack, up over the edge there.
And really, Ashton did a pretty good job there. He could have spun the car with the contact there, and he did a good job of keeping the car straight. If he just could have got a little bit more momentum just to get to that grass, he could have made it through.
Well, Larry Foyt spun as well. He got back on course.
Wow. Well, it looks like he just, you can see his skid marks there. It looks like he locked it up under braking or downshifting and just never got it turned into the corner, and he went straight off.
And that's not uncommon with these cars. With the braking and the downshifting here, it's very, very easy to get wheel chatter in the back and get the back axle to hop up and down and dribble like a basketball, so to speak, to where you lose that grip. And once you lose that grip, and you know you're using maximum braking anyway, there's no real way of gaining that grip back.
We are under caution. Scott Pruitt, the pole sitter, still our leader. Ron Fellows running second in the GNC Live Well 200. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Welcome back, everybody, to the GNC Live Well 200. This is the town of Watkins Glen. This is the old race course. Jeremy Dale, you raced on this?
No, I never. No, they started with this in 1948, 6.6 miles. Started down in the town, climbed up the mountain, and then came back down into town. And, you know, it's not unlike Daytona. They started racing on the beach and decided, you know what, guys, we better build a racetrack. They did the same thing here at Watkins Glen. They raced on this for 4 or 5 years and then decided, you know what, we better build a proper road course, and they did that in 1956. And the first NASCAR race was here on the road course in 57.
Tony, we were talking earlier about the difference between this course and Sears Point. You were saying it is indeed a lot faster.
This track is definitely faster than Sonoma. It's got a lot of elevation changes, but at the same time, it's got its own different set of challenges. Braking is more important here as far as saving the brakes. You're running a lot faster, and like we talked about the wheel hop, it's a lot easier to chatter the rear tires here than it is at Sonoma also.
And we talked about the sight lines. It's difficult for the drivers to see. They need a lot of spotting help. For more on that, let's go down to Liz Allison.
You're right, Mike. They do. They need a lot of extra eyes down here. And that's what they get at Watkins Glen. At most tracks, you'll get one spotter. And most of the teams here have at least 3. And then some of them 4. And they're scattered all around the track. So they definitely depend on these guys down here to keep them clear.
So far, we haven't had a whole lot of contact on this track, but we have had a couple of guys who have gotten off course. And that is the reason for our caution at the moment.
You see the lights off on the pace car, which means we'll be going green this time, which is a good sign.
You see those drivers putting some heat in the tires, scrubbing, getting them clean. Tire management is important here at Watkins Glen.
It is very important. As long as these straightaways are, and as much as the braking is important, braking is as hard as on tires as cornering and accelerating. So you're putting the tires under a lot of load here, and that's probably the one disadvantage that the hired guns, the road course drivers that don't get the opportunity to run the Busch Grand National Series full-time, it's the one disadvantage that they do have coming into this series is not knowing how to manage the tires as well as the Busch regulars.
3 sets of tires for this race, Jeremy, enough?
I think it is enough. I mean, if you end up in the pit lane more than 3 times, you know, you've lost probably a lot of track position. So even though the good news is on the road course with the lap right around 1 minute 12, 1 minute 13, you can make a green flag stop and not lose or not go down a lap.
And we're ready to go green.
All right, green flag, green flag, green flag.
Look at Fellows. Well, Tony, that's exactly what you were talking about. He got Scott Pruitt on the defensive there down into turn 1.
And you can make a guy alter his line just 2 or 3 feet or make him go 10 feet further into the braking zone, and you could really cause him a lot of problems and make force himself into a mistake.
Scott Pruitt not making a mistake so far, still leading this race. We told you about Mike McLaughlin and his success here in recent years. He has moved up to 11th position. We're on board with our foot cam.
You see he's not using the clutch right there. With the Jericho transmission, they're pretty bulletproof. They're kind of like a tank transmission, so they take a lot of punishment. And once you get out of first gear, or get out of the pit lane in first gear, you really don't have to use the clutch again. And they're very easy to shift, and as long as you're using the throttle right coming on the downshifts, it makes it shift very easily.
You know, I'm sorry, Mike, you've seen in the past, you know, some of the guys struggling when they brake with their right foot, struggling with the heel and toe. And so Mike gets away from that, but he has to have a lot of discipline here, because if that left foot touches that brake pedal down the straightaway, not only do you slow yourself down, but you also overheat the brakes. So you got to have a lot of discipline. You can see he pulls his foot right back off to make sure he's not dragging that brake down the straightaway.
Exactly, and brake pressure is very important here also, like we talked about, the brake spading. You can utilize a lot of brake if you want to, but at the same time, you're going to cost yourself as the run goes on. 4 or 5 laps into a run here at Watkins Glen, the brakes start to fade, and it doesn't mean that they keep fading, but they'll lose a little bit of performance. They'll go from 100%, say, to 85%, and then it seems like it levels off. But a guy that takes care of his brakes early in a run really is going to have a lot of braking opportunities and passing opportunities as the run progresses.
We talked often that there's more than one style to your foot around this track. Is this the style you use?
That's exactly the same style I use. I've always been a left foot braker because of my background in midget sprint car racing, where you didn't have the luxury of having a clutch. So I always learned to brake with my left foot. My teammate Bobby Labonte, he's a right foot braker, so he uses a little different style than I do, but having the Jericho transmission, it makes it very, very easy to use any style that you're used to, whether you're a right foot braker or left foot braker. It makes it very easy and accommodating for both styles.
A lot of the road racing guys that have tried to make this transition over to left foot braking have problems with that sensitivity in their left foot, which is just such a natural for you, having raced in all those sprint cars and midgets all over the years. Look at Fellows.
Ron Fellows taking the lead away from Scott Pruitt here on lap 14. So for the first time today, the defending champion of this race. And what a performance he's had with that team. You know, it's kind of interesting. He gets hooked up with Joe Nemechek and Brian Patty, the crew chief. They just hit it off, and they've got a real chemistry going with Ron Fellows on these road courses.
They really do, and if you think back to past Busch races here and look to see where Ron Fellows has always made his pass for the lead, it's always in turn 1. So you get to see the in-car and see how smooth he is inside the car. Listen to his transitions with the throttle, and listen to how nice and smooth on and off the gas he is, with his shifting in particular.
I'll tell you, Ron's got it tougher this year than he's had in the last 3 years, because now you've got Robbie Gordon and Scott Pruitt here, and of course Boris said, so
Ron has been very confident all weekend, but not quite as sure that this one's in the bag for him.
Ralph?
Well, Mike, you were talking about brakes, and Ron Fellows made that pass for the lead utilizing his brakes. And we talked about different styles of braking techniques. Well, there's something else that's different, and that's the brake pads that the different teams are using. Ron Fellows was so secretive about which brake pads he was using here today. His team put these covers on his front brake pads all weekend long. Every time the wheels were off, these pads went over the caliper so you could not see which brake pads he was using. They told me they have different pads that they're using than some of the other teams. The other teams have access to these pads. They're all available on the market. They just don't want everybody to know which ones they're using. And Jeremy, as you know, a different brake pad can make a big difference from brand to brand.
Oh, that's a big difference. Look at this, a bit of a surprise. Kevin Harvick in the pit lane, lap 14.
That is very early.
Right
There could have been a possibility he could have been off course with just the right sides there and cut a tire down to where he may have to come in.
Kevin Harvick, of course, running for the championship. We documented that he was in Daytona last night. Here today, he's going to really be a traveling man this entire month. Harvick back now on course with fresh tires and a full tank of fuel, but we talked about that pit window.
But again, if you think you have a problem, you know, at least on the road course, you can get in and get out and not go down a lap. So you're better safe than sorry. Get in, fix your problem, make the stop, get back out, and now he's going to run at least with no traffic for a while.
And the good thing, if there would happen to be a caution in the next 4 or 5 laps to where the leaders would come in and pit, Kevin stays out. He's the new leader. He gets his 5 bonus points for leading a lap, and he's sitting there with great track position.
Ron Fellows.
Oh, Ron Fellows got held up there.
Big break in momentum right there with lap traffic.
And Pruitt just drives by and makes it look easy. Doesn't even have to work for it.
And that shows how important the momentum up through the S's really is. If you just break that momentum just a little bit, it gives the guy behind you an opportunity to make the pass very, very easily. And there was no challenge there. Ron just stayed to the right, knew Scott was coming, knew there was no way he was going to be able to hold him off and just let him have the position back.
Scott Pruitt and Ron Fellows, though, are two pretty good friends.
Well, I mean, you know, as Ralph mentioned down on the grid, yeah, they just over a month ago, they were at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. They won their class there in that 24-hour race at in the Corvette, of course, and Ron, overall winner at the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year. So Ron and that Corvette team have had a great, great year.
Scott Pruitt says he's looking forward to getting back in this type of racing. He feels that's something he wanted to prove as you're riding with Ron Fellows.
Watch on the inside here, because Biffle's having a look.
And Biffle's going to get the position. Greg Biffle now in second place.
That one break in the momentum coming at the top of the S has really shook up that last lap.
And you know Greg Biffle wants to get up front and get to the lead and at least get those 5 points because they're so important for this championship.
Biffle, obviously the leading rookie candidate in this series, but he is second in the points.
And you can see him there launching the right side of the car off that curb, about 8 or 10 inches of air under the right side.
As they get laps on their tires and as the tire wear comes into play a little more, you'll see them utilize the curbs a lot more because you're dealing with a 3,300-pound race car that doesn't want to turn. It doesn't want to stop. It doesn't want to corner. It doesn't want to accelerate. It doesn't want to do anything that the physics says it should do. So a lot of times you can, even though the car may not be driving the way you want, you can utilize those curbs to actually help the car do what you want it to do. So you actually have a little more control than you do on some of the ovals that we run.
Greg Biffle says the way he learned to ride around this racetrack is he got behind Ron Fellows in a truck race and followed him for about 10 or 12 laps and then decided it was time to pass him. He knew what he could do. And that's really a good way to learn, is to get behind somebody else who knows the way around.
Absolutely. For every rookie that in any series around the country, if you can get behind a veteran that has been around a racetrack a long time, you can learn more than you can ever learn on a video or with a book. So it's a very valuable experience that you can't buy.
Look at the guys moving up. Todd Donahue, 14 spots. Kevin Grubb, he's really run well the last couple of weeks in this series. Chad Little has had some success here at Watkins Glen, and this is Rich Bickle's first race in a Busch car here at the Glen. He's taken to this track pretty well.
You can actually see Robbie Gordon in the 21 car. He's actually catching Ron Fellows also. So it's starting to get to be a pretty good mix, and I think that's Boris said it. So the top 5 cars are really close right now.
You got to be impressed with what Greg Biffle's doing here. I mean, he's right up with these 4 guys, and he doesn't look like he's using his car. Is that Fellows? Fellows peeling off for the pits.
Ron Fellows won this race a year ago on pit road. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Brian Patty swings around to the far side with the jack. Remember, this is a much different setup when they pit with the road course setup. The fuel input is now moved to the right side of the car as opposed to the left when they're running on an oval. The crew swings around to the right side of the car now as the fueling is done with the first tank. No changes are being made to this car. Everything was quiet on the radio. Looks like a very routine stop. They complete the fueling and Ron Fellows is down and away.
22 seconds on the stop for Ron Fellows, and he's now got some catching up to do. Scott Pruitt is your leader. Greg Biffle, the rookie, having quite a run today at Watkins Glen in the GNC Live Well 200. Back in Watkins Glen, Scott Pruitt, your leader, Greg Biffle running second. We are having pit stops now. Boris Said has just come on pit road, and they're side by side. Biffle wants the lead. He's got it. Greg Biffle, the Busch Series rookie, has just taken it away from Scott Pruitt, the road racing specialist. Let's go back down to Ralph.
Robbie Gordon is making his first pit stop in the Rockwell number 21. They will take 4 tires in fuel. Scott Massey working the front tires, changing the rights now, the left as well. The only thing Robbie has asked that he wants more of, horsepower down the straightaways. But guys, when have you not heard a race car driver begging for more of that?
You can ask all day long, and you're not going to get any more than what you got right now.
You don't ask for stuff like that during a race, do you?
I know I can't get any more.
Not much point in asking.
Nope.
Back up front to our leader now, Greg Biffle.
Greg Biffle not shy about using every inch of racetrack. And we've seen him at the exit of 10 turn right here, turn 10. Look at him, hangs the right side over the edge, and now doesn't use quite as much road as he has been using. So now he'll definitely get those 5 points for leading lap. All important for Greg Biffle.
You can really see and understand why Jack Roush wanted this guy under a long-term contract.
And Pruitt's in.
Scott Pruitt, pole sitter. Gave up the lead a moment ago. He is headed down pit road. Pruitt's crew preparing to go to the attention of that 71 car. Matt Yoakum is in the pit.
And the car owned by Kevin LePage, poster Scott Pruitt, working his way down to his pit. Kevin flew up this morning. Also got about 2.5 hours sleep on top of the pit box, calling the shots today as they go to work on the left side of the car. This is a scheduled stop for a number of teams. They are short pitting, so to speak, not going their entire fuel window to try to pick up track position on pit road when others will pit behind them. They've come around to the right side of the car, but Scott did park the car very close to the wall. Trying to get that right front on. He parked the car very close to the wall. It was tough for the guys to get in.
Remember, Fellows was 22 seconds, so more than 5 seconds longer than Ron Fellows. And there's Harvick
here.
Look at Harvick.
There you go.
Remember how far back Kevin Harvick was.
And a simple pass like that, it could take Pruitt a lot of laps to get by.
There's Greg Biffle, our leaders on pit road. Matt is in his pit.
Greg Biffle coming to his pit stall. Another scheduled stop. This was the game plan that Randy Goss talked about earlier in the day when they were talking about giving back the lead. He said this is not going to interfere with our game plan. They go to work on the left side of the car. No adjustment scheduled for the 60 machine. He was very happy the way this Ford was running as they come around to the right side. Hoping for a good stop here so they don't lose any time on the racetrack. He did pick up his 5 bonus points, and he is down and away, 19.1 seconds.
Well, Greg Biffle certainly has been a big story in this race so far.
I'd say the hard part about this racetrack is that this is the only place on the circuit, even for the Winston Cup guys, that you pit the wrong direction. That the guys come from the right side of the car.
How different does that feel coming down pit road? And actually looks like you're doing it backwards.
It's very awkward. The guys actually have to put the marks, and they'll use strips of tape to show the driver and where the pit sign is located, where you want to put the car in the pit box. And as you saw there with the 71 car, he got too close. It makes it very hard for the jack man to get the jack in the proper position to get the car in the air to make the right side tires easily changeable.
We have a new leader. It is the defending series champion, Jeff Green. He's run 4 races here at Watkins Glen. 3 of them he's been in the top 10, 10th here a year ago. Jeff Green, a lot of rumors next week, may be named to a full-time Winston Cup ride.
Get your march, buddy, all by yourself. You are the leader, all by yourself.
Began driving this Busch Series, drove for Dale Earnhardt for a while. Said he raced against Dale Earnhardt in a race in Nashville, Tennessee. He beat him. Dale Earnhardt finished second. That's how he got the job, driving for Dale's Busch car.
The easiest way to impress a guy is to beat him.
Yeah. Very talented race driver, though, and deserves a good Winston Cup shot.
Absolutely. He's been very much overdue for a very good quality Winston Cup ride. He's got a lot of talent and a lot of patience, and that's what it takes to be a top quality driver in the Winston Cup Series.
And running second right now is another one of those up-and-coming great young drivers, Jimmy Johnson. Again, we're on board now with Jeff Green. Kind of different paint scheme for that car this week. Normally it's a yellow car. This week it's blue, and a lot of Jeff Green fans takes a little getting used to.
It hasn't been green yet, though. That's the one thing. It's been in between yellow and blue. The next color combination has to be a green car then.
I don't know. I don't think Jeff's in favor of green. Big superstition there. Jeff Green is your leader at Watkins Glen. We'll be back in just a moment. We have a new leader. It is Jimmy Johnson in car 92. Another, as we said, one of those bright young stars. A guy who ran an off-road series, says he felt that really helped prepare him for road course racing. Says still finds it tough out here, something to get used to, but everybody you talk to thinks this guy is going to be a superstar. Well, Jeff Green, our leader a moment ago, did come down on pit road. Let's get more on that now from Matt Yoder.
On lap 25, Mike, Jeff Green did hit pit road, but a little bit of different strategy down here in the 10 pit. Crew chief Harold Holley only called for a chassis adjustment, 2 rounds down on the track bar in fuel, no tires. They wanted to try to save as much time as possible in the pits to try to make it up on the racetrack.
Jeff Green, we're riding on board with him now, posted in the 16th position. So he didn't lose all that much.
No, and it seems really odd today. We're seeing a lot of different pit strategies. Some guys are going to try to run the full length on their fuel, and some guys have short pitted, some guys have pitted and not taken tires. So we're seeing a lot of different pit strategies today. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in the end.
More on Jeff Green now from Ralph.
Mike, you guys are talking about the color green and how so many race car drivers are superstitious about that color. Well, I flew in on the same plane as Jeff Green this weekend out of Charlotte. And when we got to the airport here in Elmira, he went to his rental car counter, got his car keys, walked his wife out to the car, realized the car was the color green, turned right around, walked right back into the airport, and made the folks at the rental car counter give him a different rental car.
Now, how does somebody with the name of Green feel that?
I'm surprised he hasn't changed his name yet then.
Are you superstitious about green?
Actually, I'm not. I'm superstitious about the number 13, and as odd as it's going to sound, the number 81. I've always, anytime I've driven a car that was number 81, I've tipped it over. So I stay away from cars that are 81 and 13.
And of course, Tony Stewart, who has joined us today after his run at Daytona last night. I'm Mike Hogwood, here along with Jeremy Dale, Liz Allison, Ralph Shaheen, Matt Yoakum. We're glad you're with us for this NASCAR Busch Series race on TNT. GNC Live Well 200. And Jimmy Johnson is our man out front. Native of California, now living in Morrisville, North Carolina, former Mickey Thompson Stadium Series champion. Boy, Boy, he has impressed a lot of folks in the NASCAR garage.
He's a very versatile driver to go from the different disciplines of racing to the Busch Series. He's made some big transitions in his career, but I think he's done a great job so far.
Well, remember that accident he had here last year in the Busch race, down at turn 1, lost the brake pedal, lost the brakes on the car, and there was just no way to slow that car down, and he just launched it off the exit, basically cleared the gravel trap, and went into the styrofoam. Here is Ron Fellows now mixing it up with Robbie Gordon, and that's Jay Sauter. And that's the battle for 11th, 12th, and 13th. Make that 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Well, you know what it's like to try to pass Robbie Gordon on a road course.
It's not easy by any means, but it can be done, obviously. But, you know, these guys that are good on road courses, they know each other's techniques. They know where the passing zones are, when it's time to go, when it's not time to go. And I can promise you, Robbie's going to make it very, very hard on Ron right now.
These are two guys who really know their way around any road course. Robbie Gordon in the 21, Ron Fellows in the 87. And Jimmy Johnson, your leader, is now on pit road. This obviously a scheduled stop. It's like lead a lap, come in. Here's Ralph.
Jimmy Johnson stalls the car as he pulls the number 92 into his pit stall. The car was really tight around the racetrack. They were deciding between a track bar adjustment and air pressure adjustment. They decided to go with an air pressure adjustment in the front tires. So the gas being put into the car right now, everything seems to be going fairly smooth. They're done in a way, and a fairly quick pit stop as one improvement falls back over the wall.
Well, Jimmy Johnson's visit to pit road means that we have a new leader, and it is one of those young guns in this series. One of those guys trying to make his name, and he has been hot the last 2 weeks. He's continued it here today. And we're talking about Kevin Grubb in car 37. That's the car of Jason Keller. And behind him, there's the 37. Mechanicsville, Virginia. Grubb with 2 straight top 10 runs, trying to make it 3 in a row here at Watkins Glen. We'll be back with more. The GNC Live Well 200. TNT's new original series, Witchblade, is a hit. Take a look.
See the story of a woman who started out a cop and became something more.
What are you? Justice.
Witchblade on TNT.
Now here's your chance to catch up on all the episodes you may have missed, beginning with the movie that started it all. See 6 hours of Witchblade today at 4 Eastern, 3 Pacific, right after NASCAR on TNT. Well, we've had a lot of position changes with these pit stops, which are all coming under green flag. Moving up, how about Kevin Grubb, started 28, leads the race, a change of 27 spots. Rich Bickle, Randy LaJoy, Andy Santerre, who's trying to earn his way back onto this Busch series, has had an impressive run here. He's also had 2 wins in the Busch North Series on this racetrack.
And 2 of those guys, LaJoy and Santerre, they stopped at the yellow flag at lap 9. They actually stopped on lap 10, so they're also another group of guys that are on a very different fuel and pit stop strategy.
And the big name dropping back, Scott Pruitt. Rich Bickle's down on pit road. Here's Ralph.
Regular pit stop going on. This is a scheduled stop. Butch Lamoureux, the crew chief on this one, making the calls today. They're working the right side of the car now as they get it up. Fuel is done, tires are on, and he's away. Everything very smooth down here for Rich Bickle.
Rich Bickle, a guy who has owned short tracks in the Midwest and the South, has over 225 wins there. Hasn't raced a lot on a road course. Seems to be taking to it pretty well here today. Kevin Grubb is our leader. Andy Santerre is now posted in the 2nd position. And Ron Hornaday, who has been asked to drive that 11 car for a couple of weeks, is running 3rd. We see Kevin Grubb's lead there. That's a lot.
And And it does seem like a lot, but at the same time, he's in a different pit sequence than everybody else is right now, so that is part of the reason that he has such a substantial lead.
Saw Greg Biffle there in the 60, the 66 behind him. That is Jeffrey Bodine. Took over this ride at Kentucky. Ran in Milwaukee last week, and here his third race with this team is, he makes no bones about it. He wants to prove he's healthy and wants to get back into Winston Cup and may indeed do that this year with his brother Brett's team.
And Biffle essentially is the leader on pit stop strategy because he is right now out in front of Fellows. He's out in front of Robbie Gordon. They're 2 to 3 seconds behind him right now. So Biffle and his team doing a great job here. He's worked his way through this traffic, got some reasonably clean racetrack in front of him. Look at the tire mark on the right side of the car. Pretty significant tire mark on the right side of Greg Biffle's car.
I'll tell you what, guys, I am really impressed with Greg Biffle and his run here today.
Mike, I think it's all that road course racing he did in the trucks these last few years has really paid off. And there's no question that he and his team are very comfortable with the road courses and with the cars.
There is Jeff Green. Now we have reports that he is losing fluid. Look out the rear of that car. Currently 13th, has led the race today. He's one of those guys still battling for the points title. Been in the top 5 all year.
Zero smoke this time, huh, Rob? Zero smoke.
Well, that's good news from the spotter. You heard that. Well,
he's not standing there, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That 71's too back, buddy. If he gets to you, he's by himself. He's all by himself if he gets to you now.
And what his spotter is telling him there is that if he does let him by, he's not going to, if they race each other too hard for too long, they'll both lose time. So he's telling him that if he just lets him go by, he can get right back in his rhythm and keep on going without losing very much time that way.
And that's exactly what he did into the inner loop. He let Scott Pruitt slide up the inside.
more on Jeff Green's troubles from Matt Yoakum.
Mike, just a few moments ago, you saw from the bumper cam shot from Jeff Green's car a white puff of smoke. That's actually a tire rub on the left rear. It's not doing it over the entire course, but some spots on the course it is still rubbing. But Harold Holly, Jeff Green's cruiser, feels like it will work itself out. It should not be a problem.
Well, Matt, we hear it might be not a problem in their eyes, but it is in NASCAR's. He's going to get a black flag, and he is coming down on pit road.
On pit road.
Jeff Green, black flag for whatever problems he was having. You're on board with him now as he rides to the attention of his crew.
4 tires.
Matt Yoakum's in his pit.
And the 10 car makes his way to his pit stall. They are going to look at that left rear as they make a tire change and pull out that fender. They've already got one can in. It's already full. They're going to make this a 4-tire stop. They're already here. Rich Fuzz Berghoff working on the front. Bo Taylor on the back. He did pull away. He looks at the fender. It does not appear to be bad. He's down the way.
Well, troubles for Jeff Green. Unscheduled stop, smoke. Said he smelled something in the rear end, smelled rear end grease.
All clear, buddy. Go hard. Go hard.
Kevin Grubb is our leader. He's been going hard in this race so far. He leads the GNC Live Well 200.
Green. We got a caution. Tag her up.
I'll keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel. Keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel.
You take him, buddy. You can beat him in this corner. Come on.
Yeah, we're going to the roadhouse. Gonna have a good time.
Ron Fellows has been the king of the road, riding 5th today. Kevin Grubb there, your leader, but you see the pace car. Yes, we are under caution again, and the reason is Hank Parker Jr. is stalled out on the racetrack.
But we had a report. We thought we heard he might have had a motor problem. And certainly the car isn't moving. That's between turns 11 and 12. He's not too far from the pits there, but he still has to get back.
Hank Parker Jr., his sponsor, of course, the sponsor of today's race, GNC, hoping to do well. Also, his car owner, Scott Welliver, lives in the area, has a winery near here, and was the grand marshal of today's race. So Hank, I know, is a little disappointed.
That's a pretty good indication that his day is over. When you take the helmet off there, that's a pretty good indication that everything's done for the day.
And you see the damage on the right rear of Hank Parker's car, the Chevrolet.
Looks like there's some damage on the left side of the car, too. Oh, that's a window net hanging out. I thought that was the rear quarter panel.
Kevin Grubb, our leader. You know, this is the first time Kevin Grubb has ever led on a road course.
What'll be interesting now is to see exactly what pit strategies come out of this now. This first caution we've had after a long stretch of green, and you could possibly see the same guys, the 60 car, the 21 car, the 87 car. You could see those same cars that have already pitted once possibly come in now with Kevin Grubb, because I'm sure Kevin's going to come in this time.
Now there is Hank Parker, disappointed. Let's listen in his car.
Ooh, that didn't sound good.
That was on the downshift for the inner loop. He downshifted it. You know, you can blow these motors if you downshift too early. Great suspension cam there, by the way.
There's a car in here to look at it.
If you downshift these cars too early, you can easily over-rev the motor, and that can blow the motor.
Well, they're pushing him down on pit road, but in all likelihood, the day is over for Hank Parker Jr. It's not for Kevin Grubb. He leads the race here at Watkins Glen. We're getting close to halfway. Let's take you back to the start of the race. Scott Pruitt on the pole. In on lap 2. Look at Greg Biffle. Car 6. Boy, he's had a great race today. Lap 4 now. Hank Parker Jr., he's had a tough day. Spinning. This also put Tom Hubert in the pea gravel. Then on lap 13, it was Ron Fellows who won this race a year ago, taking the lead away from Pruitt. On lap 14, here comes Scott Pruitt, his road racing teammate, right back. Pruitt on pit road, too close to the wall. It caused a long pit stop. Then on lap 29, Kevin Grubb, first time ever he's led in a road course race. The defending series champion, Jeff Green, smoke in his car. His crew trying to fix it. Now it's time for our Napa Field summary. We've had 6 leaders, 8 lead changes. Our average speed over 93 miles an hour. 3 cautions. We're under 1 right now. Cars out of the race today, 6 of them. Tune in to TNT this August for Glory's last shot as Tiger Woods looks to defend his title at the 83rd PGA Championship. It's from the Atlanta Athletic Club. It all starts August 16th. On TNT. Nice crowd here today at Watkins Glen. Lights off the pace car. We are ready to get back green flag racing. And we will start with Ron Fellows, who is now riding in the 5th position, right behind Andy Santerre in the 01. You are on board with Ron Fellows. This will be interesting to see if he makes a move at this start.
Well, Santerre had ducked into the pit lane, and that's Greg Biffle, and you can't pass him before he gets to the line.
You saw him hang back. What he was trying to do was get a big run on those guys and try to be able to duck down to the inside going into turn 1.
Look at Biffle up on Parker, or on Grubb. Very close.
Now let's go on board. Kevin Harvick in the 21st position. We were talking about that shifter earlier.
You see the shift handle right there. That's a shorter shift handle than what we normally run on the oval events. And the reason for that is with as much shifting as you use, you need that shorter handle to be able to make the shifts a lot quicker.
And one guy who's made some shifts to the front is Greg Biffle. He leads again today.
And he's driving with a lot of confidence today, no question about it.
Greg Biffle, the 2000 Truck Series champion, said, you know, people call him a rookie, but he's run a lot of races in a lot of series, and I don't think he feels too much like a rookie this season.
And he's not showing it right now either.
Again, he won the Truck Series race last year from the pole. Okay, this time by, we will be halfway through the GNC Live Well 200.
And Ron Fellows behind here has cleared Grubb. There's Fellows.
But it's Greg Biffle and Ron Fellows who are stretching it out just a little bit here. Heading now down to the inner loop. Elton Sawyer right behind Kevin Grubb. He's in that yellow 98.
You see him go over the rumble strips there. We talked about how you can alter the car's handling by using those strips. At the same time, it can also upset the car if you use them improperly. So as the race goes on, you'll see guys sometimes being a little bit too aggressive with those curves and making mistakes also with it.
Haven't talked a lot about Boris Said today. He's 6th. That's Robbie Gordon right in front of him. Let's ride with Boris.
Pressure.
Feathering the throttle as he turns into the first part of the S is so important. Little feather there, so important to get a good run off this part of the S's so you can get down that straightaway quickly. You got to keep that momentum up. You hear how late Boris downshifts to 3rd there. That really helps the motor. It's tougher in terms of slowing the car down, but not as hard on the motor.
What we call engine braking. The more RPMs you use on the downshift, you're actually using the motor to actually slow the car down as much as you're using the brakes. So if you do that, make that downshift later, you're using more of the brake and less of the engine versus doing an earlier shift where you're utilizing more of the engine than the brakes.
But Tony, if you downshift too early, that's where you get more chance of axle hop that you were talking about before.
Exactly, because what happens is the motor and the brakes combined actually can slow the car down easier than the tires can, and you actually overpower those rear tires where you get that wheel chatter.
So a nice ride around with Boris Said. He's in 4th position, but out front is Greg Biffle. Going for the Rookie of the Year. He's going for the championship in this NASCAR Busch Series. We'll be back more of the GNC Live Well 200 from Watkins Glen. You're watching the NASCAR Busch Series on TNT. We have a new leader. We rode a lap with Ron Fellows a moment ago. Well, he has passed Greg Biffle. He's now out front. You're on board with him. Let's take a look back at what happened, and Ron Fellows took the lead.
Well, this was the actual pass, but look at Biffle. He knows they're not going to make it through there side by side, so he peels off. Now, if he had come out in front of Biffle, which he easily could have, he would have been assessed a penalty there, but he decided to slide in behind Biffle, or slide in behind Fellows. He knew Fellows had the position, and he knew he had to do that if he wasn't going to get a penalty. And that all started just as we were going to break there. We saw them rolling up behind a lap car as they came up through the S's, and that's where it all started, back in the S's, and Biffle just lost all his momentum down the straightaway.
Ron Fellows and that Joe Nemechek-owned team, Brian Patty, the crew chief, they have been so dominant in the past few years. They've won 2 out of the last 3. The year he didn't win, he finished 2nd. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And had a plug wire come on, which he's happy to point out.
Yes, he is.
We always, as drivers, want to have an excuse for why we didn't win.
Exactly. Not to take anything away from Dale Earnhardt Jr. There is Kevin Harvick, and he's actually headed to the pit lane, and he was in the pit lane not that long ago. He was in on lap 39.
In the 15th position, that's the series points leader. As you see, slows down to the pit road speed, 35 miles an hour. Coming to the attention of his crew, Double duty weekend as we've documented for Kevin Harvick. Ralph Shaheen's in his pit.
Nothing but fuel, Mike. They just topped off the number 2, and Harvick is back underway. No tire change, no adjustments.
The decision by Todd Barrier, the crew chief, for fuel only, and you see some smoke.
It's John Finger in the 77 car.
John Finger, who, if you are a road racing fan, you know that name. He has won in all kinds of sports car races. Won the ARCA race yesterday.
Down into turn 1, where we always see so many problems. And he gets a little tap there.
It's Jamie McMurray in the 27 car.
And buries the throttle there and does a great job. Spins it back to the inside instead of going to the outside and getting the gravel trap. And that not only kept him out of the gravel, but probably saved us from a full course caution.
And that's twice he's spun and not gone off the course, so he has done a very good job of staying on today, even though he's had trouble.
And while that was happening, we've had a change for second place. Robbie Gordon has moved up to second. You're looking at Jeffrey Bodine in the 66. He's 25th. Let's head down to Liz Allison.
Yeah, Frank Cece, Jeffrey Bodine's car owners had a little more going on this weekend at the racetrack than just race cars. He actually gave his daughter away last night at a wedding right here at Watkins Glen. Frank, this has been a wild weekend for you. You were at a wedding last night and then back at the track today.
I didn't quite hear you, but I think I know the question. It's been a real busy week for us. We had NASCAR night in Elmira Heights Thursday night, which I worked on a little, and then Friday night we had to have a rehearsal dinner for the wedding, and yesterday we were here all day for qualifying, and then had the wedding last night, 6 o'clock. I'd like to say congratulations to Angie and Fred, my daughter Angie, and Fred Brodro got married yesterday. So sorry for the Aquavelva car and the GNC car not having too good of a day, but Phillips 66 car is right up there.
We're hoping those wedding bells are going to be a good luck charm for that 66 car. Thank you. Mike, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Liz. And Frank Cece, Scott Welliver, owner of 3 teams. They're from this area. The David Green car, Hank Parker in the 66 that you saw there of Jeffrey Bodine. So a lot of hometown fans with those cars. Ron Fellows is our leader at Watkins Glen in the GNC Live Well 200. A lot of developments in this race. That is the car of Robbie Gordon facing in the wrong direction. He's just spun. Now he's going to get it back around, and he's going to come down pit road. A lot of the leaders have visited pit road. Ron Fellows was in. Boris Said was in.
And Mike, I think what he was doing there...
He hit me, guys.
Oh, he got hit.
Let's go to Ralph.
Robbie Gordon saying on the radio that he got tapped from behind, and that's what got him loose. He's been complaining about the car pushing a little bit through the very fast S's. They will change 4 tires, go up on the air pressure 1 pound all the way around. They feel like they can go the rest of the way from here. Jack Van Brett Cummings with the right side up in the air. They're done, and Robbie Gordon is away.
Tough break for Robbie Gordon, who had inherited the lead. He wasn't the only one who had a few problems. Ron Fellows stalled his car on pit road, and that cost him a few precious seconds.
Well, you can see the clear body damage on the back of Robbie Gordon's car in the left rear.
On board now with Ron Fellows. Let's take a look at that pit stop just a moment ago. And Tony, we were talking about it. This is something that is not hard to do.
No, it's not uncommon at all. When he comes off the jack, he stalled the car, and it's very easy to drop the clutch and not get the revs up high enough. But
and there might have been just a moment of hesitation there with Lyndon Amick's car, because Amick's car rolled in right in front of him just as he was really committing to leaving his pit box, and there might have been just that hint of a hesitation.
Exactly.
Caution flag has waved here. These fans having a good time. And pace car now picking up the field, and will be Greg Biffle here on lap 52.
And this is exactly what Robbie Gordon needed. With the track time that he lost being sideways on the front straightaway, he's actually going to be able to gain all that time back now. So if the race would have stayed green the rest of the way, that would have been a big penalty and a big deficit to try to make up.
Well,
this yellow, it helps him.
Yeah, not only that, but Ron Fellows has made his final stop. Greg Biffle, it needs to make his final stop, but the advantage is essentially the other guys have done that under yellow. So if Biffle doesn't get in and get fuel now, he may be in trouble.
You see Jeff Green's car behind Biffle. He's being posted a lap down. It's the 25 car of David Donahue. That is in the second position. So the youngster, the son of the late Mark Donahue, former Indy 500 champ, in a pretty good position right now.
You can see those enormous brake vents on the front of Biffle's car below the bumper. These guys try and get as much air to those front brakes as they can to keep them cool. It's a big, big challenge here at Watkins Glen.
What they'll do in practice also, they'll take barometers that will actually read the brake rotor temperature, and if they're getting very good ventilation to the brakes and they're getting the temperatures they're wanting, they can actually add strips of tape to that. What that'll do is it'll restrict the flow that goes into those ducts. At the same time, it'll force the air to go up over the top of the car, which creates downforce. So it's a fine-tuning deal. You see all those little fluorescent red strips of tape that are on the grills. That's exactly what they're there for. They create the temperature and get the motor temperature and the brake temperature where they want it, at the same time trying to utilize the air to create as much downforce as possible.
And actually, Ron Fellows' car is very, very different. They're taking all their air from the center part of the lower bumper and not towards the outside. I think they feel they get more pressure and more airflow going to the brakes from that center part below the bumper.
On board now with Ron Fellows, posted in the 10th position now in this caution, so he's got some work cut out for him. You know, we've seen a lot of the fans here. There's some young fans. They get started early. Tony, when you were that age, you were racing, weren't you?
I wasn't very far off of that for sure. I was sitting there looking at that kid going, that's a kid that's probably going to try to take my ride here in about 15 years.
Tony had already won championships at that point.
I tell you, though, the drivers today, where they start with 3, 4 years old racing, whatever it's bicycles or whatever, and then the time you're 10, now with the Bandolero series or whatever, you're a veteran.
It's a great time to be a race car driver and a young aspiring race car driver, because there's so many young series, whether it's quarter midgets, go-karts, the Bandolero cars. There's a ton of different divisions that you can come into nowadays and get that experience to become a professional race driver one day.
And it's almost now that if you don't get it at a young age, by the time you get to this series, you're really behind a little bit. Here they come down on pit road. All our leaders are in, and that includes Greg Biffle. Matt Yoakum is in his pit.
And the 60 pit very disappointed with what happened with the 21 car spinning. Then they feel like waiting for the caution to finally come out. It's ruined their game plan. They're going to have to regroup, Randy Goss tells his driver Greg Biffle, but Biffle does finally come to a stop in his pit stall. No adjustments scheduled for the 60 car. He is very pleased. Again, there is a little bit of damage to the right front valence as they come around to the right side of the car. A number of donuts, but the right side tires are on. They're making sure they pack that fuel cell full of fuel, and he's down and away. 18.2 seconds.
Good stop under caution for Greg Biffle, who has had a wonderful run today so far. He is our leader. David Donahue is second. Ron Hornaday running third in the GNC Live Well 200 at Watkins Glen. Hey, you ever wonder what it's like to be on a pit crew? We've got a microphone on rear tire changer for the Biffle team. That's Kevin Starlin. They call him Cowboy. Very precise job. They practiced that all week. Matt's with Cowboy right now.
And this is the 5th season that Kevin Starlin's been carrying tires. Well, how was that stop, Kevin?
It was a pretty good stop for us. We was hoping we didn't have to come in on yellow. It's kind of put us behind on our game plan, but hopefully it'll play out. And Greg will be able to get up through there and be in contention for the win.
How many days do you guys practice a week, your pit stop?
Generally, we're in the shop about 3 days a week, so every time we're in the shop, we're at least practicing. For here, we practice twice a day because it's different than normal.
This is Ron Fellows taking it to David Donahue. David Donahue inherited the lead there on that round of pit stops. Ron Fellows in great shape right now, but looks like he's going to outbrake him into the inner loop. Use a little curb there.
That's experience and car right there. Ron Fellows taking the lead. Now, David Donahue is a good road racer. Native of Malvern, Pennsylvania, and you're looking back at him out the rear of Ron Fellows' car right now.
Well, one of the things those two guys have in common is a class win at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But David has just not been too happy with his race car this weekend, and he knows that they've got some work to do there, but he's done a good job to get it up towards the front of the field. But look at Ron Fellows now pulling away.
Yeah. Donahue had that win at Le Mans back in 1997.
And the guy that's in rough shape right now, there you see Kevin Harvick is up in the top 5. The guy that's in real rough shape right now is Greg Biffle, right now shown in 16th.
Kevin Harvick. Right ahead of him, it is Boris Said in the 17. Harvick, after a little bit of a tough day early, started out with an early pit stop. Now is in pretty good shape. The series points leader is running fourth.
Well, guys, according to what I've figured out, he'd need to run 36 laps on a tank of fuel, and that is the upper end of the limit. So if they're planning on going the whole way, they're going to use every last bit of fuel in that 2 car.
Here's our shift cam with Kevin Harvick. Take a look at it.
You see him sawing on the wheel. That's a little more sawing than you like to see at this point in the race, but at the same time, he's following a car, and just like what we see in the ovals, when you follow a guy like this, it takes the downforce off the nose of the car, so it makes your car tighter. So that's probably why he's doing a little bit more work than you normally would like to see out there.
Tony said using that short shifter that Tony Stewart uses in his road course cars.
Got a good run off turn 11 there. Got a great run. And look at Boris getting a little defensive there because he knew that Kevin had a good run off the final corner.
And that's what I hate to see in Busch Grand National and Cup racing. The blocking moves, I think it's, if a guy who works hard and gets a run on you, he deserves to get the spot. And it's not saying you should give it to him, but beat him into the next corner. That's where your opportunity to get it back is.
And Kevin Harvick knows what he's doing on these road courses. Last year, his rookie season, he finished 3rd in this race here at Watkins Glen.
And he's got another good run here as they head to the inner loop. But he can't do anything with it.
But I think that's showing his patience and maturity, too. I mean, he could try to outbrake him every corner, but if he does that, he knows he's going to get his brakes hot. He knows he's going to use a lot of tires. So I think he's playing a pretty smart game plan right now.
Remember what we talked about at the top of the show. For the guys that are running for the championship in the Busch Series, guys like Kevin Harvick and Greg Biffle, the big question on their minds is, do I need to race the road racers, or am I just considering the guys that are the guys running for the championship? Right now he's racing against Boris Said. Boris Said isn't running for the Busch Championship.
But I can promise you, Kevin, as young as he is, he does not want to give up an opportunity to win a race, whether it's for points or not. I mean, the crew is probably telling him to take it easy and think of the big picture, but Kevin is a true competitor. He doesn't want to give up any spots if he doesn't have to.
Now, Tony, you're in Kevin Harvick's car. You're trying to take that spot, too.
I'm 30 years old, and I'm not the most patient person in the world. I can promise you I'd be trying to get every spot I can, too.
I think we're under full course yellow. Yeah, guys, there is the 10 car.
Yes, it is Jeff Green. He has been black flagged, and as you see, is slowed out on the course. There is a report of oil on the track. Here's the corner worker with the caution. Looks like we're going to get a full course here, as there had been reports for much of this race that oil was coming out the rear end of Jeff Green's machine. Matt Yoakum has more on the story.
In the 10 car, Jeff Green drove by the pit road about 45 seconds ago and was smoking. Harold, is the car done for the day?
Yeah, the engine just let go. Unfortunately, we just got on the curb there and had a little bit of a tire rub, and NASCAR thought we had a problem, so they made us pit and it got us a lap down. Cooperation between us and the 60, it don't seem to go the same way, so ain't real proud of that, ain't real proud of the engine blowing, but things like that happen. You know, Roush has built us great engines all year, and things are going to happen. It's just one of them racing deals, you know.
You do have an association there running the same power plants, but what was your conversation with Randy Goss, the crew chief of Greg Biffle?
Well, he said he didn't know they was leading the race, but 21 just got turned, and they had the 60 scored leading the race, and we asked him for a lap back. And I just basically told him I'd have made Jeff Green stop on the racetrack and give him their lap back. It didn't happen like that. So, you know, what comes around goes around, and we ain't out of this thing by no means. We'll be racing our tail off as hard as we can for the next 10 races.
Let's go to Ralph.
Well, Gil Martin is the crew chief for Robbie Gordon. And Gil, you were a little frustrated with the incident with Greg Biffle that got Robbie spun around. But what was the story, and why did NASCAR penalize you?
I don't know. The Rockwell Automation Chevys run great all weekend long. And we had a pretty good strategy, I think, for today, that we were going to pit on lap 50 right there. And as we were coming in, the 60 car, I guess, spun him around right there on pit road, back out on the track, and then we turned back on the pit road, and NASCAR said we pitted too soon. So I don't know. We'll just have to try to come from the back, and I think we can work our way back up to a top 10 anyway.
This is one yellow that Robbie Gordon would like to have seen. It works out in his favor, gentlemen. He'd already picked off about 4 or 5 cars.
Well, it has been a tough day for several cars. Jeff Green now disappointed and out, but Ron Fellows is the leader. The GNC Live Well 200. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. A couple of the young guns have been the Supermen this year in the series. Kevin Harvick and Greg Biffle. Harvick with 2 wins. Biffle leads the series with 3 wins. Jason Keller, who's teammates to Jeff Green, and Tony Raines with good seasons as well. And there in the pits is David Donahue. Donahue had been posted as the leader down on pit road for what should be his final pit stop of the day. This caution caused by Jeff Green is going to hurt him in those points, his 4th DNF of this season. Last year, he won the championship by the largest margin ever in this series. Bobby Hamilton Jr. in on pit road. Another one of those young guys who's having a pretty good season. Recently filled in for the injured Joe Nemechek in Winston Cup. Looks like a pit stop that's a little bit longer than normal.
Can't exactly see what the...
Well, they got a bunch of damage to the front of the car. You can see there's lots to tape up there.
Plastic valence is broke. Fenders are cracked.
But Hamilton's still on the lead lap. Was posted in the 24th position coming down on pit road.
You had a good look at those air intakes there, and there's the oil dry on the racetrack to get all that oil up, and there's a lot of it out on the racetrack, no question about it.
Leader now posted as Ron Fellows, and Boris Said in 2nd place, still under caution at Watkins Glen. Still under caution at Watkins Glen. Let's check out our upcoming NASCAR schedule with our Wendy's race menu. Got Bud Cole qualifying on CNNSI later this week. Busch Series will be racing in Chicago next weekend. You'll see that on NBC. Winston Cup final practice on CNNSI. And Tony, you looking forward to that Winston Cup race in Chicago next Sunday?
I really am. I've always looked forward to going to new racetracks because some of the tracks that I've only been to 4 or 5 times now, the Winston Cup veterans have been to 40 or 50 times. So it's nice to go to a new venue where everybody's on a level playing field and nobody has any notes from the previous year.
Should make for a great race. I know they're excited in the Chicago area about next week. This is the GNC Live Well 200. Ron Fellows out front. What we want to do when these guys finally get the oil cleaned up off this track and go green is we're going to let you ride around this racetrack. Just listen to the sounds and these engines, these motors as they downshift, trying to get around this tough 2.45 mile road course.
See Kevin Harvick pulling his belts, and that's something that the spotters and the crew chiefs will keep preaching as the day goes on, because as the race goes on, your back compresses and your shoulder belts do tend to get loose. So the spotters, when they tell you when to go, they'll say snug your belts up, clean it out, get ready for the green. So it's good to see Kevin at the young age that he is making sure his belts are tight like that.
You get deep into a race like this, do you have to sometimes take a deep breath and kind of refocus yourself after having ridden around here for 3/4 of the race?
Absolutely. A lot of times you get used to getting in a rhythm. Now this is a time to cool down, reset, and get ready to go.
Let's go down to the 60 pit. There's Matt Yoakum.
And Randy Goss is Greg Biffle's crew chief, getting ready to call the restart. Randy, quickly, what was Greg's take on the incident with the 21?
Well,
The 21 was coming to the pits, and he wasn't waving his hand, and we didn't know, and we just got into the back of him, which kind of messed up our own deal because we screwed up our own plan. Our plan was going just the way we wanted it, but it threw a huge kink in it right now. We was hoping to be in the front, letting everybody tear their stuff up, getting to us. Instead, we're going to end up tearing our stuff up, getting to the front.
The 10 car's crew chief wasn't very happy with you not letting them get their lap back.
Well, to tell you the truth, I was scrambling. I didn't even know that we were the leader and where we should slow down.
Well, right now, he's got a pair of binoculars so he can help call the restart for his driver, Greg Biffle.
Greg Biffle currently posted in the 10th position. He has got his work cut out for him to get back to the front. Let's go back down to Liz Allison.
I'm standing in Jimmy Johnson's pits with road racer PJ Jones. Sorry, PJ. He's doing a little moonlighting this weekend and giving Jimmy some help on the track.
Yeah, we came up here with the Excedrin team and tested and got Jimmy running really well. And, you know, Jimmy's got so much talent, he didn't need much help. It's just I was able to help him with the car a little bit. And last year when we came here with the yellow freight car, we had a pretty good setup and we were running pretty quick. So, you know, hopefully I'll be able to pass this to Jimmy a little bit. And we just got a bad call just now. I mean, we've been running the top 10 all day long, and we pitted under the when the pits were closed. So, you know, hopefully we can get back up to top 10. But Jimmy's been doing a great job.
Hopefully you'll have a good ride today. Thanks. And Mike, back to you.
All right. Jimmy Johnson now riding in 19th. And again, here we're ready to go green. Let's go on board for a lap.
Clear behind him. He's clear. I think clear.
Well, we've had to spin during that lap. It is Jimmy Johnson, who we were just talking about a moment ago. He really was going hard, trying to improve his position. He was back in 18th. We'll see if we get a caution flag. He looks now like he might be back up to speed.
If that doesn't show the fans how hard these drivers are working out there, nothing else will. I mean, that was an awesome lap there to see the downshifting, the footwork, the work with the steering wheel, all of that. It has to be in sync with each other to make a good, clean, and smooth lap here on Watkins Glen.
Jimmy Johnson is back up to speed. Boy, that was a great lap. Ron Fellows is our leader. Kevin Harvick right behind him. We'll be back with more of this race from Watkins Glen in a moment. Time now for our field summary brought to you by Napa. There have been 8 leaders today, 14 lead changes. Average speed down just a little bit with those 5 cautions. Only 11 caution laps and 7 cars out of the race. Ron Fellows is our leader. You look at the fastest lap times today, the 10 fastest laps, well, they belong to this guy, Ron Fellows.
You just look how relaxed he looks in the car there. His hands look relaxed. He doesn't look like he's gripping the wheel real tight. His movements are very smooth and slow. He just looks like he's out for a Sunday drive.
We also noticed that Ron has the steering wheel a little further away from him than most of the Busch regulars. You know, the guys that race on the ovals week in and week out, it's more comfortable to have the
have the steering wheel in close, but that's more of a normal kind of road racing position, and that's what Ron's comfortable with, and that's what he runs with.
Tony Stewart, of course, here with us in our broadcast booth today. He's finished 6th in both of the races he's run here, so he knows his way around this course as well. Now look at this battle. That's Jay Sauter on the inside, the 43, Robbie Gordon in the 21.
They're all around. Battle for 13th right now, so Robbie working his way back through the field. The other guy that's working his way back through the field is Greg Biffle. He's up to 6th now, so the guys that ran strong early on but kind of got juggled a little bit on that last pit stop and that last yellow are having to charge back through the field.
Robbie Gordon is flying. Tony Range in the 33 getting past there.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. Robbie's pretty comfortable with that all those years in the desert. He doesn't mind that car getting up in the air a little bit.
And the whole key to that is it doesn't really upset the car a lot to go over that curve that much if you do it in a straight line. But if you're trying to make the car turn, that's when you're asking for a lot of trouble there.
Our road course specialist in it today, Ron Fellows. He's leading the race. Boris Said is 3rd. Scott Pruitt, we haven't talked a lot about him lately. Started on the pole, now in 10th. Robbie Gordon, he's making his way up. Tom Hubert spun early, got into pea gravel. He hasn't been the same since. He's in 29th.
You see Robbie Gordon there pulling out on Jay Sauter. Big bunch of cars behind Sauter. So Robbie's got his work cut out for him. He's going to have to, you heard Randy Goss talking about we're going to have to tear our car up to get to them. What he's talking about is using more tire than he wants to use, using the brakes a lot harder than they want to use. And instead of controlling the race from the front, you've got to go and chase these guys down. On board with Mike McLaughlin.
McLaughlin in the 17th position. Directly ahead of him is Chad Little. You're looking back behind at the 59 of Rich Bickle. There's the man he's going after. That's Chad Little, who's had some good success here. That's Rich Bickle, who has just gotten around Mike McLaughlin and taken the position away. So that is Bickle up directly ahead of him now, and I think McLaughlin wants that position back.
Remember when we were on board, when we did our lap of all onboards and we had the foot camera down in Mike McLaughlin's car, you could see him with his left foot touching the brake pedal before he got to the braking zone. He's getting to that point in the race where you want to make sure that that pedal is firm and hard before you get to the brake zone. You don't have the total confidence at this point in the race.
And a lot of what that is as these brake pads wear, every time you get off the brake, the pads kick back. So what happens is you have to pump the brake pedal back up to get those pads close to the rotor so that when you do get to that braking zone, you have it right there. So it's more a matter of security, and he's still going to be on the gas when he starts pumping that brake, but he's got to get those pads pumped back up to the rotor.
Little breathe on the throttle there up through the S's, but he's got a good run.
And a lot of times what that little lift is at the top of the hill, the nose of the car is really light. You see him pumping the pedal there. All he's doing is pumping the pads back to the brake rotor, so when he does get to that braking zone, he doesn't have to use an extra long stroke on the pedal to make sure he gets the brakes.
So where the inner loop, and there's a spin. It's Jimmy Johnson. Jeremy, you've said it several times today, there is only room for single file through the inner loop. They were going side by side, and the end result, Jimmy Johnson spinning.
And I could swear I saw a waving yellow flag there as those guys came into the inner loop. And that might have been what contributed to all that confusion. But certainly Jimmy Johnson is the guy that has ended up on the short end here.
What you see on the road courses that you don't see on the ovals, what we're talking about is what they call a local yellow, where it's only yellow for that corner. But actually, it looks like he got just jammed up behind Scott Wimmer.
It's quite possible. He might have just tagged that guardrail right on the end there. And that might be responsible for the damage to the right front, because he really had to take it to the inside. Really had to slow down a whole lot.
That's Larry Floyd right in front of him. Something flapping off the rear of that car.
I think he could probably say, though, that he's seen parts of the racetrack today that nobody else has seen from that perspective. So
Indeed.
Break for the yellow flag here.
Ron Fellows, as we said, looking smooth. He's leading this race. Ralph Shaheen's with his crew chief.
Mike, that would be Brian Patty, who is watching Ron Fellows come up the front straightaway right now.
Full course caution, everything cool down
talking to his driver. Brian, you guys seem to be in really good shape. Is it going to be a smooth run for you from here to the finish, do you think, or do you have anything to worry about?
We're not going to pit, no matter what. That's the thing, blows up or blows a tire or something. But so far, so good. I mean, who would ever thought the caution would come out lap after I pit? I mean, usually that doesn't happen. But it's a good thing. The Bully Hill Vineyard Chevrolets run great, you know, all weekend. We've been on top of the chart, or 1-2 all week. You know, it's unfortunate we didn't sit on the pole. Thought we had the good car. Lost a little grip because the temperature rose. But we learned a lot. Made some changes this morning because yesterday's practice. And when the sun comes out, I think we'll be in really good shape.
You guys took special care to hide your brake pads. Is that one of the keys to your victory today?
We had a bunch of stuff. No matter if we're at Charlotte with Joe or here with Fellows. I mean,
Mike?
All right, 6th caution of the day. 14 laps remain here in the GNC Live Well 200. We're getting down to it. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Under caution, let's take you back and show you what's happened in lap 39. Greg Biffle leading, taking it away from Kevin Grubb. Then on lap 44, Ron Fellows wants the point, and he's got it. Going through that inner loop. Very smooth. On lap 47, John Finger, who won the ARCA race here yesterday, spins. Jamie McMurray just gets by. On lap 53, here he comes again. Fellows wants the lead. He's got it. Taking it away from David Donahue again in that inner loop. On lap 57, Jeff Green's day comes to an end much earlier than he wanted. His engine lets go. Had problems all day. On lap 62, out the window of Mike McLaughlin, and you'll see Jimmy Johnson turn his car around. But it wasn't the first of troubles for Jimmy Johnson. Here another spin, this one in the inner loop as he makes contact with Scott Wimmer. Johnson's car none the worse for wear, he's still running. And under caution right now, Ron Fellows is our leader. But right behind him, series points leader, Kevin Harvick. And then the man who, I would say that they've developed a little bit of a rivalry this season, Greg Biffle.
They probably don't go out to dinner with each other, but you know, when you're running a series as competitive as the Busch series, you're going to butt heads once in a while with a guy. But I don't think they're bitter enemies. But they're probably they get that when the 2 car wins, it's the 60 car that he wants to beat. It's vice versa the other way around when the roles are reversed. So those 2 guys have a great rivalry going, but I don't think it's as bitter as everybody wants it to make it out to be.
Last night in Daytona, Florida, what a race in the Winston Cup Series. Series returning for the first time after the tragedy in February, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. with his teammate Michael Waltrip behind him. They said it was maybe payback for February, but those 2, what a celebration they had. What an emotional night, Tony.
It was. We sat in the back and watched that race, and if there was anybody that we didn't want to win, if we couldn't win, we wanted it to be Dale Jr. for sure.
Matt, you were there as well.
Well, you could really feel it in the air, Mike, the electricity with the 8 and 15 cars crossing the finish line, 1-2, reversal of what took place back in Daytona in February. But what more special of a way for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to try to come to terms with what took place in February, to kind of put closure on the tragedy in February for Dale Jr., the family, and many of Big Dale's racing fans. But I'll tell you what, you could see the emotion. Dale Jr. on top of the 15 car with Michael Waltrip. It's a very special night for the entire Dale Earnhardt Incorporated operation. Liz?
Very emotional. I know for me in my hotel room last night at Watkins Glen, you know, I was rooting for him too, and I was rooting for Michael. It was a very emotional race to watch, I think, for everybody. And I did definitely shed some tears. I'm happy for Dale Jr., and I think everybody's happy the way it turned out. Hey, Mike, did you shed a tear last night?
Oh, yeah, it was an emotional night, and I think if you're a fan of racing, and particularly those of us who know some of these people involved into it. It was a very, very emotional thing. And this is an emotional sport at times.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody involved in the sport of not only Winston Cup racing and Busch racing, but in auto racing in general, they're a very tight group of people. And, you know, you're away from home a lot. With the Winston Cup Series, we're gone over 120 days a year. So guys like Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt when he was alive, those are the guys that we spend a lot of time with. So you have very, very close relationships with them.
Well, you heard it from the spotters. We're back under green here at Watkins Glen.
Kevin
Lap
Harvick,
71.
Kevin Harvick with a big run on the restart. He's going up the inside of Ron Fellows, and Greg Biffle might go too.
Kevin Harvick, you're on board with him. He has taken the lead away from Ron Fellows. We have 12 laps remaining.
All that talk that we had early in the show about saving brakes, you can throw it out the window right now. It's show everything you got. You throw all your cards on the table and you run hard for 12 straight laps now.
Time to go, as they say. And here comes
Ron
Fellows. What a move on the inner loop.
And that's what happens when you save your brakes for the first half of the race. You have them when it counts at the end.
Kevin Harvick went to the brake pedal just a little bit early there, and Ron Fellows was close enough, and he said, hey, I'm going. And he tossed that car to the inside, outbrakes Harvick into the inner loop, takes the lead back.
Was that experience or was that brakes?
That's everything.
Both.
And now Biffle's coming at Harvick hard. And that's the points championship right there. So important for these guys.
And those two cars have had some great battles this season in Busch Series competition.
I promise you guys, Greg Biffle thinks he can win this race. Never mind beating Kevin Harvick. He thinks he can beat Ron Fellows.
And he's just taken the position away from Harvick. Greg Biffle, 3 wins this season in that Jack Roush-owned car.
And what may have happened to Harvick, when he got behind early in the race, he had to run really hard to get through traffic, and that probably took its toll on the brakes, and he's really had to push his car hard all day. For the 60 car, the 87 car, the 17 car, they've been able to stay up toward the front, save their equipment. Now that it's time to go racing at the end, they've got a little bit more brake. They've got a little fresher car than what Harvick has right now. So these guys are going to work on him pretty hard right now.
On board with Ron Fellows. And you would know that there are just 10 laps to go, and then he's got Greg Biffle hard on his tail. He just looks calm and composed.
It looks like he's running a 24-hour race right now.
Yeah.
You know, when you do those long distance races, you have to stay relaxed because you just won't make it. You won't make it. You know, at Le Mans, Ron Fellows drove close to 11 hours, 11 to 12 hours. You know, you can't be uptight. You've got to be relaxed in the car. It's like doing the 500 and 600 mile races. You've got to be relaxed.
10 laps remain. Greg Biffle has his sights set on Ron Fellows. Can he catch him? We'll find out when we return to the GNC Live Well 200 at Watkins Glen. It's time for a field summary brought to you by Napa as we wind down this race at Watkins Glen. We've had 8 leaders, 14 lead changes, 6 cautions, 9 cars out of the race. And like you said, Tony and Jeremy, everybody's giving it what they've got right now.
Well, just during the break, on lap 72, Ron Fellows set his fastest lap of the race, which was the fastest race lap. Greg Biffle responded on the following lap, lap 73, with his fastest lap of the race, also resetting the fastest race lap today, 1 minute 13.2. So both of these guys right now are pedaling just as hard as they can.
Ron Fellows, our leader, and you see that interval. It's not much over Greg Biffle. Although he has been stretching it out just a little bit. Ron Fellows, what a record he has here over the last couple of years. Won this race last year. Finished second year before that, then won 2 out of the last 3 years he's been to victory lane. Can he do it today?
That was Brian Patty calling out to Ron Fellows. You did a 1 minute 13.5, increased the interval from 0.8 to 1.5.
Let's go down on the pit lane to Liz Allison.
Mike, I'm down looking for Delana Harvick. act, and actually she's done a disappearing act, and I have to think that it might be her nerves. I remember when Davey was running, every now and then I would slip off and have to go take a walk by myself, and it's nerve-wracking when you're at the end of the race like this and you're trying to compose yourself. So I would bet that she's probably back somewhere taking a little walk.
I wouldn't doubt it, Liz. Ron Fellows leads, and it's a little nerve-wracking for him because Greg Biffle is chasing him, and chasing him hard. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Back at Watkins Glen, Ron Fellows, our leader. Boy, he has been the king of the road, as we've said here at Watkins Glen in '98. Started second, finished first. 1999, that was the plug wire year, finished second. And then last year, started on the pole and won the race. Here's more from Ralph.
One of the things that the road racers are doing here this weekend and talking to them in the garage area, they've explained to me, is they're working extensively with the camber of the tire. And that's how this tire is leaned in or out from the car. A lot of them are leaning them in this way so it'll stand straight up down the front straightaway. The key to this is you want this tire as flat as you can when you do the braking. On an oval, you'd want to lean this tire in so that when you get to the banked corners, the tire would flat out on the banking. But Jeremy, as you know, braking in a straight line in road racing and having as much contact patch as you can with this big tire is a key to smooth braking.
Well, Ralph, that's true. I mean, one of the big keys, and you don't have to do this compromise on the oval so much, but you got to worry about the braking on the road courses. There's a lot of hard braking zones here at Watkins Glen, and that's definitely one of the big gains you can make, is looking at that front suspension geometry and deciding what you're going to do with camber, what you're going to do with caster, and how you're going to manage that tire.
Ron Fellows has actually been extending his lead over Greg Biffle. A report that Biffle might be getting his brakes a little bit hot. I think he's just cooling them down a little bit for the final laps, or does he have anything left?
Not sure he can give up much time right now, but I want to give a call to Elton Sawyer. He's had a solid run all day. We haven't really talked much about him, but he's 6th right now, and he's been as high as 3rd. So, you know, Elton's a very consistent runner and had a very, very good day today.
Elton Sawyer, who lives in my hometown, Greensboro, North Carolina. Last year, started 3rd and finished 7th in this race, so he knows the road courses. Matt Yoakum.
And since lap 42, Mike Hogwood, he's had to hold, with one hand, hold the car in 2nd gear when he's downshifting because the transmission wants to jump out of gear when he's in 2nd gear, so he has to hold it and drive with one hand. What a whale of a job of this 98 team to come back and run up in the top 6 with that kind of difficulty.
That is a job.
I wouldn't want to have to do that. It is very, very difficult to do that and manhandle a 3,300-pound car with one hand.
And his wife is Patty Moise, who has run a number of races here at Watkins Glen and is spotting for him today. Back up front now with Ron Fellows. Told you the king of the road. Does Greg Biffle have anything for him?
If he's having to cool his brakes right now, he's pretty much done, unless they would happen to get a yellow with it and have a quickie yellow to where he has one shot at him. It looks like Fellows is going to have his way with him right now.
But regardless of what kind of shape Biffle's in, he's done a tremendous job here today, and he's doing mostly what he needs to do, which is to beat Kevin Harvick. He's led laps, he's had bonus points. He's done a tremendous job.
These two are still going to battle all season long for this Busch championship. Biffle running 2nd.
Good to go. You look great.
Harvick 3rd. You heard the spotter.
2.83.
That is the spotter of Ron Fellows calling out the margin. 2 to go. Now's where you start hearing all kinds of things inside that race car.
Yeah, your mind definitely starts taking over at this point, telling you things that aren't necessarily there. But, you know, like we talked about with Ron's road racing background, running the 24-hour races, this isn't going to phase him a bit. He's probably going to run 2 really consistent laps here at the end and you know, pretty much just cruise to victory unless something happens to him here.
You're riding with him right now, and he's had that relaxed look inside that race car all day long.
Down through the loop, all downhill here. The car's kind of on tiptoes as you go down here. You can't really commit to it, and then you come out of there, 2nd gear up to 3rd gear. It looks like he's lost the shift knob off that. Yeah, he's lost his shift knob. That's not very comfortable.
Yeah, you can actually see the nut that actually tightens the ball down there. It's kind of rattling around there a little bit.
Ron Fellows out of Toronto, Ontario, has his family here today.
you just look at Ron's hands and look how smooth he is in the corner. He's not jerking the wheel. He doesn't do a lot of left-right with the steering wheel. He's just very, very smooth, and that's a very good sign that his car is driving real well.
That's Ron's wife, Linda, there on the left, daughter, Lindsay. They don't look nervous either, do they?
I think they've been through this before a couple times.
Calm and cool. So they've got to be excited about the job Ron Fellows has done today, and that whole team. Brian Patty, the crew chief at Chevrolet, has been stout. White flag is flying for Ron Fellows. One more time around this 2.45-mile road course. Did he make it 2 in a row? 3 out of the last 4. His family will watch him come home. Wife Linda on the left, daughter Lindsay there on the right. And he does look smooth.
He can shut it off right now and coast to the line and not get beat. He's just run a great race all day, and that just shows his experience as a road racer.
Hitting his marks, taking the checkered flag, and winning the GNC Live Well 200.
Good job, guys. Good job. Very nice car being beat.
What a great day again here at Glen for Ron Fellows. Ralph is in the pits.
We're down here with his crew chief, Brian Patty, and let's get a word with him. Brian, tell me about that win today. Was it as easy as you thought it would be?
Oh, no. It's never easy to win a NASCAR event. We felt coming in this week that this would probably be the hardest event to win because there's so many good cars. I mean, the 60, the 2, the 17, you know, the 21. These guys, I mean, they run week in and week out, and they got some road warriors coming in trying to oust us off the throne. But we built a brand new car. I told Ron it was going to be good, and I'm just glad that he believed me and drove it. I mean, the car that we won with the last couple of times, I get to the 7 guys for Rain to the Joy to drive, and it's great. I mean, I got a great team, got a great sponsor in Bully Hill Vineyard, got great motors, great bodies in Brian Smith, and a great chassis with Brian Robertson. I just can't say enough.
Well, you gave away the last car. Are you going to give this one away?
I believe this one's not going anywhere.
Mike?
I don't think it should go anywhere. Boy, it was strong today. And again, congratulations to Ron Fellows. A couple of Busch regulars behind him with some great runs. Greg Biffle and Kevin Harvick. Boris Said in the 17 had a good run. Robbie Gordon in the Richard Childress car was 5th. We talked about Elton Sawyer. Lyndon Amick had a good weekend here at Watkins Glen. Scott Pruitt, our pole sitter. Jason Keller and Ron Hornaday round out our top 10. An exciting day for Ron Fellows, his crew, and indeed his family as he takes the checkers at Watkins Glen today. What a great day it was for Ron Fellows. Lap 13 takes the lead away from the pole sitter, Scott Pruitt. And on lap 44, again in that inner loop, this time it was away from Greg Biffle. On lap 53, David Donahue gets taken in that inner loop. Now lap 71, Kevin Harvick goes to the front. Ron Fellows on the same lap flows by.
On his side. Clear behind him. Go.
Again in that inner loop. And here the checkered flag, 2nd year in a row. Now let's go to victory lane. Ralph Shaheen is there.
Well, Ron Fellows, come on, crawl out of that car, Ron. He's getting congratulations from his crew chief on the other side. Here he comes, the winner here today, GNC Live Well 200 in Watkins Glen. And there goes the celebratory drinks, and as soon as it stops playing, we'll get back in here and talk to you. Well, congratulations, Ron, on a great win today. What was the big key for you today?
Having a very good car. Oh, man. First got to thank Bully Hill Vineyards, Nortel Cellular One, Chevrolet. We had an all-Corvette front row. That's kind of cool. Goodyear. I tell you, Brian Patty is the man. I mean, we knew we had to come here a little bit better than last year, and he built a new car, and this is kind of what we're going to need when we come back in August. That's the hardest Busch race I've run. I had to run so hard. I'm worn out for an old guy.
Is that an indication that the Busch regulars are getting a lot tougher now?
They're in the cars all the time. I mean, they're a talented group. I mean, I figured, you know, Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick, you know, they've run tough in the past when I've raced against them previously. They're very, very talented young guys.
You guys had hidden a lot of parts from the rest of the crews, like your brake pads. Was that a big part of it too? Did you have something maybe nobody else had on their car?
We've got very good brakes. You know, we've been working with Alcon for a few years now, and no, we don't want to give too many secrets away. But we've got the big key is I think we've got a car that I can carry momentum around every single corner and up through the S's. The thing's dynamite. Again, my hats off to Brian and all the guys. We had a great pit stop. Kind of got messed up in that last one, and good power all day. Thanks, Carl Wagner. And I want to say hi to Joe. Hope you're not as worn out as I am.
Let's check in with Liz Allison.
I am also down in Victory Lane with his wife down here, Linda. This is so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We're very excited. This makes 3 at Watkins Glen in the Busch Series. So we're all very proud of Daddy. We're very proud of Brian, Patty, and everyone at NEMCO for working so hard for Ron and giving him this opportunity to come to the road course and to show what he can do.
Oh, he's awesome on the road course. Can you introduce your children to us?
My daughter Lindsay, this is Sam, and this is Patrick. And
proud of Dad?
Very proud of Daddy.
Can you say, hey, Dad? Does it ever get old going to Victory Lane?
Pardon?
Does it ever get old going to Victory Lane?
Never, ever.
Well, congratulations again. Go celebrate. Thank you so much.
And the guy that Ron Fellows beat was Greg Biffle. Barely, but boy, what a great drive coming back from that late caution deal. That kind of set up your whole final 15 laps there at the end, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and I really had to use the brakes up. The Brembo brakes were great today, but really burned them up coming through that traffic. And then when I got a shot at Fellows there after I got around Harvick, just didn't have enough brakes to keep up with him, and it was unfortunate. The spin is what really caused us to put us in that position. And if Robbie would have just waved his hand, I would have not run into the back of him, and I just barely got him. If anybody gave anybody indication what he was going to do, we wouldn't have had that problem. And he said he waved that corner before, but he didn't wave that corner. And if you're slowing down to come into pits, just wave them off. It looks like we almost saw something like that in Daytona, Saturday night, big wreck. And just hand signals are important on road courses like this when you don't know what the other guy's going to do. He missed his marks down there, and I thought, here's a chance to get him, and I got in on him here, and then he didn't pick the throttle up coming off the corner. I had nowhere to go.
We had nowhere to go, but the bigger picture, he still gained a little bit on the 2 car, which finished right behind him.
And we'll update those point standings in a moment. Greg Biffle and Kevin Harvick, both strong races today. And there you see it, just 102 points separate 1 and 2. Here are the unofficial results of the GNC Live Well 200. We told you about Ron Fellows, Biffle, and Harvick. Boris said the road racer. Robbie Gordon went from 25th to 5th after that spin. Nice finish, nice recovery. Linda Naiman, Scott Pruitt, Ron Hornaday finished his 10th. Now on back through the field. Kenny Wallace, didn't call his name a lot today, but he had a solid run. So did Jay Sauter. Kevin Grubb led for a while. Donahue also with the lead. Chad Little. Jimmy Johnson had a couple of spins, but came home 21st. Scott Wimmer, the rookie, 23rd. Shane Hall, 26th. Jeff Green, a tough day, blew a motor. And Parker Jr. also with a pretty rough day as well. We told you Boris said, of that 17 car to a top 5 finish today, and he's with Matt.
And 2 Californians, 4th and 5th. First off, Boris, 4th place, but yet you seem pleased but still disappointed.
Yeah, I finally got the monkey off my back here. I finally finished the race, and took a team like the Visine team to do it. I'm pretty happy with that. I always like to be quicker, but 4th place isn't bad. Hopefully I can build on this when we come back here for the Cup race. And I got to say, my hat's off to Dale Earnhardt Jr. That was awesome last night. I've never been more excited watching a race in a hotel room in my life. And he's probably still hungover today, but congratulations.
Well, right next door is Robbie Gordon. And first off, kind of tell us from your perspective what happened when you were trying to enter pit road.
I don't know if Biffle wasn't paying attention down the straightaway before that. He obviously didn't see me wave, and I was waving, telling him I was going to pit. and I came down pit road, tried to carry good speed around the corner, and he knocked me sideways. You know, it's not having any luck right now. You know, we had definitely a car to compete against fellows. You know, we were strong, and I was just conservative the first half of the race. You know, we were running low 13s at the end of the race, so I'm really happy with everybody at Richard Childress Racing. They just did an excellent job, and everybody at Rockwell for giving me the opportunity to drive in this car here. I'm glad that we could finish up in the top 5, but, you know, it's a little disappointing because we had a better car than that.
Where are we going to see you next?
I don't know. A lot of rumors. A lot of rumors. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, I just thankful there's rumors going around right now. You know, good opportunities, and I'd like to find myself in a good ride.
Let's go to Ralph Shaheen. Ralph?
Well, Kevin Harvick has just completed some other interviews in the media center. Kevin, you end up with a fine finish here today. You hang on to the points lead. You lose just a couple. Are you satisfied?
Yeah, I mean, for the circumstances we were in this weekend, I think I spent a lot of travel and a lot of time in the airplane, a lot of time in 2 different states, and we pulled it off again. So my arm went to sleep about 30 laps into there. I had the restraint, and the buckle got into the back of my shoulder blade, and my arm fell asleep. But we got a yellow and got all that off, and we picked up about a second and a half a lap. So I could see Greg Biffle, so I knew we weren't going to lose much, and we knew he was going to be tough here, but it's pretty tough to beat Ron Fellows.
A very tough weekend for you in a lot of ways, not just physically, but emotionally with the night last night. What are your feelings about Junior getting the win with us?
Oh, man, that's awesome. I mean, he's been deserving to win for a long few weeks now, and to see it at Daytona the way he did it, and the fans understand the situation that he's in, and our race team and our whole organization's in. So awesome victory. If we couldn't win it or come second, I'd have been happy to push him just like Michael Waltrip was.
After a weekend like this, when you're running in 2 different states and so forth and so on, how long does it take you to recover physically where you get ready to go again?
It's gonna take a couple days. I mean, I'm tired right now, but that's why we canceled all the appearances and all the tests this month. All we're gonna do is race. So we're just gonna go home and relax and lay around the swimming pool for a couple days and go to Chicago.
Hey, by the way, Delena's just walking away. She was just standing up against the fence barking out orders. You got to go. See you next week. Mike?
All right, Kevin Harvick, a strong run today, maintains the NASCAR Busch Series points lead, and next week both races are in Chicago. Kevin's thankful for that. We'll be back in a moment. Let's take a look at our upcoming race schedule. On Monday night at 11, it's NASCAR at Night, the Pepsi 400 Encore. You can watch that thrilling run by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Then Friday at 4 on CNNSI, it's Bud Pole qualifying for the Tropicana 400. Saturday at 3:30 on NBC, it's NASCAR Busch Series racing from Chicago. And Sunday on NBC, it's the inaugural Winston Cup race from Chicago, the Tropicana 400. Coverage begins at 2. Tony Stewart, I know you didn't go test there, but you have heard some reports on this track. What are you hearing?
I've heard it's got a lot of grip and has a little bit more banking, so it's going to be extremely fast and should prove for some multi-groove racing, which will be an awesome race to watch for the race fans.
Should be a great race in Chicago next weekend. Well, let's go down to Liz Allison.
I am in the garage area with Elton Sawyer, who finished 6th today. What a great run for you and a great finish.
Thanks, Liz. It was a great day for the Zowers Ford Taurus. Ricky and the guys, they did a great job. Car was well prepared. I never consider myself a road racer, and we lost second gear there about, I don't know, about 40 laps to go, or not actually lost it. It kept popping out a second, so I'd have to hold it in second and drive one-handed, but it was a great day. Those guys back in the fab shop did an awesome job. I wish Michael was here. Thanks, Michael. Wish you were here, buddy. Just a great day. Had a good spotter. My wife was spotting, and kept all the fenders on it, and got it thank to the end.
Speaking of your wife, Patty, you have run here 7 times and with some road races too. How were you able to help Elton today when he was out on the track?
Well, I didn't have to do anything. He's gotten so competitive at every single track they go to. I mean, short track, flat track, big track, road course now. I just couldn't be more proud of him.
Y'all did a great job today spotting and driving. Mike, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Liz. And Elton Sawyer, as we said during the race, really a super job, especially with second gear packing out of him many times during the end of that race. Well, our winner here today is Ron Fellows. We'll be back with more from Watkins Glen in just a moment. Ron Fellows, his 3rd career Busch victory, but it was not easy, as you heard him say a moment ago. He took the lead from Scott Pruitt. Then on lap 44, had to battle with Greg Biffle to take the lead through that inner loop. On lap 53, Our number 87 now battling with David Donahue. And again on that inner loop was really a place where Fellows found that he could pass today. And on lap 71, Kevin Harvick, awfully strong. You heard Fellows talk about Harvick and Biffle, how strong they were. And then here comes the 87 of Ron Fellows right back by on the same lap. And then it was on to take the checkered flag. His third career Busch win, all of them at Watkins Glen. He led 36 laps today. Has led 178 laps on this course. Now for Greg Biffle, this was his 8th top 5 finish of the year. First top 5 at this track in this series. Led 10 laps today and gained 10 points on Kevin Harvick. Harvick now 46 races without a DNF. That ties a Busch record as he comes home in 3rd. Let's go to Ralph.
Well, this all-white sponsorless race car was driven to a fine 7th place effort by Lyndon Amick. Leming, what made the big difference for you guys here today?
Well, I think I've got a little bit of experience road racing. I've been up here before in the Busch car, and I've run some Viper races with my brother and stuff. So that little bit of experience might have helped me here, and this car has been great. I was outbreaking Scott Pruitt, who is an excellent road racer, and I think if you can do that, we have good equipment.
Don't let him fool you. How tough is this race? Look at the size of the blister on his right hand. Matt?
Well, Scott Pruitt started the day on the pole. You finished 8th, but it seems a little bittersweet. Did the brakes start to fade away?
Yeah, first I got to say hi to my family at home. How you doing? Yeah, that was a problem. The guys did a great job. The State Fair corn dog car ran good all day long. You know, this is the first time for us. It's a group of 5 or 6 guys. We hadn't ran that long together. We had never done a race run before. We knew that we weren't sure. We took a big gamble on the setup. The car was superb all day long, except for the brakes. We just fought those all day long, couldn't get the thing to stop. And I could run real hard for like 4 or 5 laps and just fade back. And we made the most of it. And hopefully, may do a race or 2 more with Kevin. I know he's looking for sponsorship for next year. And, who knows? And maybe I'll be back here.
Congratulations. An 8th place run for car owner Kevin LePage and driver Scott Pruitt. Mike?
All right. Indeed, it was a great day, and our winner is celebrating right now, Ron Fellows. We'll be back to wrap things up from Watkins Glen in a moment. You're watching Busch Racing on TNT. GNC Live Well 200 on TNT. Brought to you by the motor oil that provides the most protection. Castrol GTX, drive hard. By Go RVing, visit GoRVing.com. By Craftsman, the official tools of NASCAR, CART, and NHRA. By CarQuest Auto Parts, you'll find it at CarQuest. And by General Nutrition Centers. Visit one of GNC's 4,500 stores nationwide to help you live your best life. GNC, live well. Back in Watkins Glen and still celebrating is Ron Fellows. Jeremy Dale, it was experience plus race car today for him, superior.
And I think that expression on Ron Fellows' face as he got out of that car said it all. It was a tough race for him, and Greg Biffle and Kevin Harvick pushed him as hard as anyone has here in the Busch car the last 4 years, and it's a deserved win for Ron Fellows, but boy, those guys were really good. Harvick and Biffle, very, very impressive for those guys.
Tony Stewart, for these Busch Series regulars only coming here once a year, they put on an impressive show.
I thought they did a great job. You had 2 big stories. You had the hired guns with the road race specialists coming in, but like we said, having Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick, Elton Sawyer, those guys really put up a good fight for their own, and it's something that the Busch Series regulars should be very, very proud of today.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of talk about this, but Road Series racing is really a part of this Busch Series, and this is something I think a lot of these guys really enjoy.
I know we like it in the Winston Cup Series, having 2 races a year that we can go off and do something just a little bit different, a little bit that's away from the normal bump and grind of the oval racing.
Guys, it's been a lot of fun. We've had a great fun here today. NASCAR racing continues on TNT tomorrow night. It's NASCAR at night, the encore of the Pepsi 400, and that thrilling win by Dale Earnhardt Jr. It starts at 11. Then next weekend, it's on to Chicago for the inaugural races from the Chicagoland Speedway, starting Friday night at 4 on CNN-SI with pole qualifying for the Tropicana 400. Coming up next on TNT, viewers on the East Coast will see Witchblade, and on the West Coast, it's the quick and the dead. For Liz Allison, Ralph Shaheen, Matty Oakham, Jeremy Dale, Tony Stewart, I'm Mike Hawkwood saying so long from Watkins Glen, where Ron Fellows is the winner today of the GNC Live Well 200. So long from Watkins Glen.